All right, guys. Welcome to Press X Podcast, episode 89. Sorry about that awkward intro. It did that thing again where, the camera was all set up, everything was ready to go, and I came up and nothing was there. So, thank you guys for waiting patiently, as always, through the intro credits. Always appreciate you doing that. I like to give a little bit of time for people to file in. But yeah, episode 89 of Press X Podcast. This is going to be the final podcast episode of 2021. And I think that's pretty crazy because if I'm remembering correctly, I actually started this podcast, I think, towards the middle of 2020. I think I started this podcast for the first time in May of 2020. So it's pretty crazy to think that 2021 is the first full year of mostly in uninterrupted, podcasting. I think that maybe there was like a few times where I had to cancel an episode or two, but yeah, nonetheless, that was it's pretty awesome to think about. And obviously, it's the day after Christmas, so I genuinely, sincerely hope that everybody who is tuning in right now, or anybody who will tune in later, had a great Christmas. Whether you celebrate it or not, I hope at the very least you got to spend some quality time with your loved ones, your family, your friends, all that good stuff. I know I did. I had a good Christmas with the family, and it was a really good time. You know, it always is every year. It's just a nice time of year. You know, everybody gets to settle down, kind of chill out, hang out with the family, spend some quality time. Goes a long way. So yeah. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. I do want to encourage anybody who's listening to this right now, if you appreciate the podcast, if Press X Podcast, or PXP for short, is one of your favorite podcasts to listen to, then please hit that like button to show your support. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, helps kind of, as I say every week, get people to, check out the podcast. It puts the podcast in front of new eyes, and we can continue to grow the community. So yeah, let me see here. Thank you for hitting the like button, for those of you who just did that. We have Kipford. He says, today is my birthday, and sadly, got to work tonight, so we'll watch later tonight. Just want to thank you for your content, and happy holidays to everyone. Well, thank you for that, man. I appreciate it, and I'm just, it's cool that you can't catch it live. You say you got work, but I'm certainly thankful that you'll be watching it later. Definitely appreciate that. We have Zay Very Rare. You're saying, good morning, MBG. I hope your morning is going well so far. Not going to lie, I didn't expect another podcast until 2022. How was your Christmas? Well, first off, my Christmas was good. Thank you for asking. I hope that yours was good as well. And yeah, I wanted to be sure to get this final episode of the podcast in because it is the day after Christmas. It's usually a very calm, chill, relaxing day. Don't have much going on. And the problem is there's not a whole lot to talk about. And that's just kind of the reality of, this time of the year. This week and probably next week and maybe even the week after that, things are going to be pretty slow. But I thought that some of the things we could talk about are, the highlights of 2021, kind of looking back at 2021 and, how PlayStation did in 2021, some of the standouts. And then we could also look forward to next year. We could talk about how it's looking so far, maybe speculate about some of the things that could happen next year. So, yeah, I thought that this would be, a good time to do that. Although I will admit, the next podcast episode is going to be on January 2nd, and I certainly plan to have that episode. That'll be episode 90. I don't know what's going to happen between now and then, other than I know it's going to be very slow. So I hope I don't run out of things to talk about. But with you guys here, to always kind of spitball some stuff, kind of help me brainstorm in the moment, I doubt that we'll run out of things to talk about. So yeah, appreciate that, man. Mr. Unknown, you're saying, talking about the blue box news today. Oh yeah, you know what, dude? Honestly, that kind of caught me off guard. I I wasn't expecting Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to be when we kind of got news on that situation. I mean, yeah, I'll have to talk about it a little bit. Obviously, there's, my attitude towards it and my mindset has shifted dramatically, and you'll probably figure that out as we talk about it. So just remind me, Mr. Unknown, as we get a little bit further into this podcast and as more people join, remind me if you can, or anybody in the chat, remind me to talk about that. I'm certainly not opening the podcast with that, but yeah, we'll have to talk about that a little bit. Jacob Novik, thank you, buddy. You're saying Merry Christmas. Bought Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Only played Chapter 1 today because I don't want to rush through such an awesome game. Any news on Abandoned or Dumpster Fire, as you're calling it? I believe it or not, yes, there actually is a little bit of news on Abandoned. And as I said, we'll touch on that later. But I'm happy to hear you bought Guardians of the Galaxy, man. I have to say, this is a game I've been playing. I'm doing the exact same thing you're doing. I'm taking my good old time with it. I'm not rushing through it. And man, it's a really great game. It really is. I am surprised at just how much I'm actually enjoying it. The gameplay is a bit repetitive, but the story and the tone and the writing and just everything else about it certainly makes up for that in a big way. So I hope you enjoy the game, man. Definitely one of the standout titles of the year. And so, yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, buddy. We have Marky Mark. You're saying, just wanted to say Merry Christmas. Been tuning in for a while, and just like your videos and consistent coverage of all things PlayStation, keep it up. Thank you so much, buddy. That really does mean a lot. Now that the year is coming to a close, I think everybody kind of takes a little bit of time to look back and reflect on the year and the ups and the downs and everything in between. And, this year was interesting, to say the least. This year did not go as expected for a lot of reasons. But, it always makes me feel good when people, kind of come back and they say, hey, man, I appreciate you keeping up with the news, always providing the PlayStation content, doing the podcast. So thank you for that, buddy. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'll do my best to keep that going in a significant way in 2022. I certainly have some plans for 2022 when it comes to kind of, not necessarily overhauling anything, not like that, but just finding a way to be more consistent and improving in areas where I can. So thank you, man. Merry Christmas to you as well. Then we have Green Al Gill. You're saying Christmas went well with the family. No PS5, LOL, but I got an MSI monitor, Razer Black Widow V3 keyboard, and Basilisk mouse, good for games and school. Well, that's awesome to hear, buddy. It is unfortunate, no PS5. I don't know if you were hoping for a PS5. I can only assume you were, but I imagine that there were quite a few people this Christmas that were hoping for PS5s and unfortunately weren't able to get them, which sucks. But it sounds like you did make out pretty good, man. So I'm happy to hear your Christmas went well. It sounds like you're set, man. So hopefully you'll get that PS5 eventually. And then we have Figuratively Literal. Thank you for the super chat. You're saying, Merry Christmas, man. Looking forward to next year, with my main concern being how my wallet will, I guess you meant to say, fare in February. And yeah, dude, I have to agree wholeheartedly. Next year's looking incredibly exciting. But when you actually take a second to think about, wait a second, I want to buy all these games. They're all coming out at the same time, specifically in February. I mean, you got to think about, where are you going to get the money for all those games? Where are you going to find the time to play all those games, right? And if you didn't upgrade your PS5 storage, you're going to have to make some decisions, man. So I'm feeling that as well. I'm feeling that concern, but it's a good problem to have. I'd rather have too many games to play and too many things to look forward to than not have enough. I feel like not having enough is definitely worse, Did I play Far Cry 6? Actually, I want to play that game at some point. I'll probably play that after Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe. I've heard good things about it. I mean, I've heard mixed things, like, it's another Far Cry game, but I've also heard mostly good things. So maybe I'll have to play it at some point. I hope I like it. PlayStation Pete, member for 6 months. Play has no limits plus. Thank you so much, man. You're saying, Merry Christmas. What are your thoughts on Hogwarts and Gotham? My thoughts on both of them are, I think they'll both launch next year, And I think they both look very good. Specifically, I think Hogwarts has the potential to be a massive game if they succeed in what they're trying to do with that title. When it comes to Gotham, I'm excited for it. I know not everybody's as high up on it, but I think I'm more excited for Gotham Knights than I am the Suicide Squad game. That's just how it is for me. The Suicide Squad game, it doesn't look bad. I'll definitely give it a chance. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to both. Although the truth is, I'm not really a Harry Potter fan. I'm not I don't have a problem with it. It's just not something I've ever really been into. But maybe this could be a game that I get into and really kind of gets me into that franchise more so than anything else has. That's certainly a possibility. So we also have Zanarkand Blitzer, a member for 5 months. Play has no limits. Thank you, buddy. You're saying, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to you, MBG, and your family. First Christmas on this channel. You have a great channel and content. I had a great Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you too, buddy, and same to you, PlayStation Pete. I'm very happy to hear that your Christmas went well, and my Christmas went well too. So always appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoy the channel and the content, buddy. Really, sincerely, thank you guys for that. Means a lot. Before we go any further, I do want to make sure to give a shout out to my channel members that are subscribed to the higher tiers. For those who are not aware, it's just a way for you to continue to support me and what I do here. If you appreciate it, you can become a channel member. There are 3 tiers. If you are a member of the 2 higher tiers, you will get a shout out each week explicitly on the podcast. So we have the Play Has No Limits Plus tier. Big shout out to Junior Jackson, Samuel Payne, Josh Z, Agile Ice 24, Skin Tight Salmon, PlayStation Pete, RU46 N2 Ray, iSiler 18, Mr. S, Whiskey Gaming, and Anthony Ramos. Thank you guys so much. Then we have the Play Has No Limits tier. So big shout out to Introvert Gaming Dude, Ryan Butcher, John Renzi, Adrian D, AWS Asher, Zanarkand Blitzer, Ivanoa Kachofel, Space Gambler Jr., AJ Saeed, Rune Gasoden, JDTV, Sir Speaks a Lot, A Shorty Faye, Big Norman 0518, Shaky Shako, Tyson Webb 509, Black Manta 1989, Sane JT, Brandon Chad Perez, and Adrian Lupton. Appreciate you guys being channel members. Really do appreciate the support. And I do also want to highlight that if you are a channel member currently and you didn't hear your name, shout it out there. If you're one of the higher members, no worries. I update it on a monthly basis. So all throughout January of 2022, your name will be there. So yeah, no worries there. But okay, so let's think. I don't know. The first topic we should discuss. I will be honest with you guys, this week's podcast and very likely next week's podcast and possibly the week after that, really depends. It could very much be like, these could be very free-flowing, free-form podcasts. I don't have a bunch of topics written down or anything. I just thought we could kind of wing it because, it's the end of the year. We could just kind of just talk about anything, really. Zanarkand Blitzer, thank you so much, buddy, for the generous donation. You're saying, I've heard so much about you, MBG. Zanarkand tells me you're quite the gaming whiz. I'm something of a gamer myself. Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe, have you watched the new Spider-Man movie? It was awesome. So thank you for that, man. Thank you. Something of a gamer yourself. Yeah, so I will say that I did see the new Matrix recently, and I watched it twice. The Spider-Man movie, the new Spider-Man No Way Home, I have not seen it yet, which is crazy because I kind of feel like it should have been the other way. I probably should have prioritized that movie and not so much Matrix Resurrections, but I do plan to see it very soon. I'm hoping to see it very soon. I've heard nothing but incredible things about it. Unfortunately, I've had pretty much the entirety of it spoiled for me thanks to YouTube's algorithm. I didn't even look up the movie, and yet I'm just scrolling through YouTube's homepage, and there's just people posting spoiler videos with the titles, the thumbnails, and I'm like, great. But I'm not really like that. A lot of people can't stand spoilers. A lot of people, for them, if they have something spoiled, it ruins it for them. I'm not really like that. I don't go out of my way to have everything spoiled for me, but if something is spoiled for me, it doesn't ruin it for me. Yeah, maybe there won't be much of a surprise, but I don't really like surprises anyway, So for me, it's just if I find something out, I'll be like, oh, okay. But I know it doesn't mean much because I have to experience it for myself. Somebody can tell me how great something is, and they could even reveal something that maybe was supposed to be a surprise, but I will have no idea what the experience is going to be like until I see it for myself. But that's just me. I know there are a lot of people who absolutely try to avoid spoilers, which is understandable. Black Manta 1989, but thank you for that, Zanarkhan. Anyway, Black Manta 1989, you're saying, question, if after the inevitable state of play for God of War next happens and we don't get a definitive release date for 2022, possible delay until 2023. I will say it's a good question, Black Manta 1989. There's no doubt in my mind that we will get a dedicated state of play for God of War next year, similar to what we got this year. For those who may have forgotten, I think it was in May of 2021, and this kind of is a good way to look back on the year. One of the highlights for PlayStation this year, in my opinion, was in May of 2021 when Sony came out and they're like, hey, we're going to have a dedicated state of play for Horizon Forbidden West. And it was awesome, man. It was everything and then some. I think that people were expecting a solid 14 to 15 minutes of just raw gameplay, and it blew people away. People were like, okay, this is exactly what I wanted. There's no doubt in my mind we will get that exact same thing at some point, likely within the first half of 2022. We could get it in the second half, but I understand what you're saying. You're basically saying that if we don't get a solid release date, does that mean, it's looking likely it could be a 2023 game? I think God of War Ragnarok being a 2023 game is, I think it's 75-25. What I mean by that is I think there's a 75% chance that it's going to release in 2022. And I think if it's going to release in 2022, it's going to be the second half. That is kind of obvious at this point. I do think that it will be maybe a September game, possibly even a November game if Sony wants to release a game during the holiday season, which they might. I do want to say that. A lot of people will say, well, Sony doesn't normally release their big first-party titles during the holiday season. You are right about that. However, I do think that next year that could change because of the scarcity issue with the PS5. There's no doubt that Sony wants to sell a significant amount of PlayStation 5 units that, with the release of God of War Ragnarok. Yes, it's a cross-gen game, but there's no doubt that the majority of people want to play that game on PS5 if they have the option to do so. If, if this scarcity issue continues as long as we were told it's going to, it won't be until closer to the end of next year, going into 2023, pretty much where we are now. It won't be until then that the chip shortage supposedly is going to kind of be a non-issue or not nearly as significant of an issue as it is now. So I think that God of War Ragnarok could likely be a holiday 2022 game, but the 25%, Black Manta, the 25% for me lies in the fact that everything I just said, that could very well be the reason why Sony's like, actually, let's make it like a February or March 2023 game. Okay, we know that Spider-Man as of right now is targeting 2023. There's no doubt in my mind that Spider-Man will be a late 2023 game. So it's possible. I just don't think it's the most likely thing. I do think that God of War Ragnarok will be a 2022 game. I think people would be pretty disappointed if it wasn't. I also want to say this. My hope is that when God of War, when we do get that release date for Ragnarok, I really hope it is 2022 because God of War could be the final cross-gen game. I told you guys, going into 2023, I really don't want to see any more cross-gen games if we don't absolutely have to. I mean, I could accept God of War being early 2023, but that's as far as I go. My hope is that it won't come to that. I want, when we move to 2023, to finally just stop talking about cross-gen games, stop talking about the PS4, and we can just kind of fully move forward and just leave the old consoles behind. So that's my hope. So thank you for that, Black Manta. Shaky Shaker, you're saying part 1. MBG, I was first introduced to you through your God of War video called The Greatest Game I Almost Never Played, and subscribed to your channel because you provided me with PlayStation news. And then you're continuing here. Thank you for the super chats, by the way, Shaky Shako. Part 2, I have seen you make mistakes, but also grow from those mistakes. You have provided us with great content, a lovely community with some rough edges, and I would like to thank you for that. Well, you know what, Shaky Shako? I really appreciate that. That's interesting to me that that's the first video that you've discovered me, because I remember making that video and I love the title of that video. Even looking back now, I love the title of that video because it's so true how I almost let God of War pass me by. I mean, I have no doubt I would have played it at some point, but I remember I just was very stubborn with that game. And most of PlayStation at that time, I was like, look, there's no way PlayStation is as good as everybody's making it sound. Surely they're exaggerating. And I admit, God of War looked very good to me, but I was just like, I don't know. And then people were like, dude, just go for it. And I did. And I was blown away. And I just, the title wrote itself because it was true. I almost didn't play it. I almost didn't play it at the time because I was just so focused on Xbox and so focused on they're going to come back, man. They're going to start making these games that I'm wanting them to make. Meanwhile, PlayStation's over here being like, bro, we're literally making these games now. They're out now. You can go play these games. And I remember when I came to that realization, I was like, wow. But yeah, that pretty much switched me over to PlayStation because I realized that, okay, this exact thing I've been hoping for, this exact thing that I've been wanting, this is what PlayStation is providing. So it just makes sense for me to go to PlayStation and play on PlayStation. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And I'm glad you stuck around, man. And I agree wholeheartedly, Shaky Shaker. I've made some mistakes. I continue to make mistakes. I'm a human being. It's going to happen. I think sometimes we make mistakes when we don't truly know why we're doing what we're doing. I think a lot of times we do things believing we know why we're doing it. We do things thinking that, oh, I know exactly why. But then sometimes things happen and it makes you question, but really though, why are you doing it, And I'll just read part 3 real quick. Shaky Shako, you're saying, part 3, I wish you and your wonderful family an amazing life. I wish everyone an amazing life too. So Shaky Shako coming into the podcast today with some extreme positivity, and I have to say I'm all for it, man. I really appreciate that, and I wish you and your family an amazing life as well. Not even a Merry Christmas. He's wishing us an amazing life, guys. So everybody, thanks Shaky Shako for the immense positivity he's bringing to the podcast today. I think that it's a good time to do so. So thank you for that, buddy. And thank you so much for the generous super chats. Really means a lot. And thanks for the support over a long period of time. Really means a lot. And then we have Golden Cheeseburger, great name, saying, it's that weird guy to say, it's that weird guy to say, what if Abandoned is Forbidden Siren? Loved your conspiracy streams this year. Good job. Make an old MBG emoji, please. Yeah, I've been slacking on that, man. I have not yet implemented emojis for my channel. I really should try to do that. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to look into trying to do that this year, and that would be a great one to add for sure. I didn't even think of that. That's a great idea. Thank you, Golden Cheeseburger. And we'll talk about that. We'll, I know a lot of people are eager for me to talk about Abandoned and Blue Box and them finally providing an update. And, I think honestly, this is the perfect time to do so because I know I've said it before, and I'm not asking anybody to believe me. You don't have to believe me. I'm not even going to say anything definitively because things change. Things are always in flux. I'm not going to sit here and say this is the last time I'm going to talk about it because that's likely not true. Okay. But I will say that I do feel that this is a good time to say what it is I have to say about Blue Box and about Abandon because, yeah, there's no doubt that I was at the forefront of that. And, people have a lot of mixed emotions with this studio if they're real. I think they're real. And with their game. And, you say that you loved the conspiracy streams. And, yeah, a lot of people enjoyed it, man. And I enjoyed it too. I can't look back on it with any ill feelings because at the very least, it was a great exercise in showing that the community can come together, have a good time, and just enjoy what's happening in the moment, even if it doesn't lead to anything. That's what I appreciate about it the most. We really experienced it in the moment, and I'll remember that. And actually, when I look back, part of the podcast today is looking back, from oh, okay, Golden Cheeseburger, you're saying, I mean, I'm that weird guy from Twitter. I'm going to be real with you right now, Golden Cheeseburger. That could be a lot of different people. I see a lot of weird guys on Twitter. So there's a few, I'll if you want to leave it at that, I get it. But thank you for clarifying. Can we get a clown emoji? Yeah, I mean, dude, we could have if I were to go full emoji here on the channel, we could do a clown emoji for me. We could do old MBG, it's definitely some thought that can go into it. Figuratively literal, you're saying, I've got to say, hopefully Santa Monica reveals their other game next year. I'm definitely curious about it. Yeah, so that's another aspect of the stream that we will have to talk about. Not just the stream, but just something that I think will be worth talking about over the next couple of weeks going into 2022 and starting out 2022. I think it's going to be natural for us to kind of, not predict. I don't want to say predict, because I think if anything, 2021 has proven that PlayStation is nearly impossible to predict correctly. But we could just talk about some of the things that could happen, right? Just a possibility. And that's certainly a possibility. We know that, Cory Barlog confirmed it himself. Cory Barlog confirmed, I believe, during the September showcase when he and Eric Williams were talking about God of War Ragnarok, that I'm working on something else, and Santa Monica Studio has confirmed it through multiple job listings that yes, they're working on a new IP, and it takes a long time. There's no doubt that this new IP that Santa Monica Studio is working on is a massive title, a big budget title. We know this, so it's going to take some time. They're going to want to make sure they get it right. And the fact that Cory Barlog was so willing and allowed, I guess, by Sony to come out here in September of this year and say, yeah, we're working on something, a new, I believe it's a sci-fi title. That does give me a little bit of hope that, yeah, we could see that revealed next year. That is certainly a possibility. And that would be a big title, man. That would be a big game reveal for sure. And it just, I have in my title here, major PS5 reveals. And that's something that I am confident in saying. I think 2022 is a good year to expect some major PS5 reveals. We did get some major PS5 reveals this year, but not a whole lot. There was Wolverine, which is major. I think that qualifies as a huge reveal. We got KOTOR Remake. That's another one. We did get Spider-Man 2. That's another major reveal, albeit a much more expected reveal, but still major nonetheless. And then we got the God of War gameplay reveal. And we did get Horizon gameplay revealed this year. So there were quite a few reveals this year. I think when you actually compile it all together, even though it was pretty spaced out and there were very quiet periods of in between these reveals, it really was, it really was a significant year for reveals. But I think that 2022 has the potential to be even, it makes sense. That Sony's sitting on a lot. Sony has a lot going on behind the scenes. And that 2022 is going to be a more important year for the PS5 and for the PlayStation brand in general. The year after a new console reveal is always slower. It's always tame, calmer, at least it seems like that. It's always that way. But then the next year and the year after that, the years following, it really starts to ramp up. And I'm not trying to make it sound like we got to wait. We're always waiting. That's normal, right? If you're excited for new games, you're always waiting. But I just mean that you're going to really start to feel like things ramp up, So, yeah, I'm hoping they reveal it too, man. Jacob Novik, you're saying saw Star Wars TFA day one, was spoiler free, but got the most heartbreaking part spoiled in the theater before the movie started. And I was like, damn, so close. Yeah, that's very unfortunate, man. Even going to the movie theater to see movies like that, where there's just so many things that can be spoiled, even people walking out of the theater or being in the theater, if you're basically around anybody or any source that can spoil it for you, there's a pretty decent chance in one way or another you'll have something spoiled. But you were close. You were close. Too close. Anthony Perez, you're saying, I understand your apology, but the Xbox Series S does suck trash based. That's a funny sentence. Trash based on Digital Foundry videos. The Series X is cool, but the Series S is shameless price undercutting. So I do know what you're referencing, Anthony, and I guess I should talk about that briefly since you are mentioning it. Yeah, I put out a tweet yesterday that I got to tell you, there are just moments where you don't expect things to turn like to escalate, right? Like the meme of from Anchorman where he's like, well, that escalated quickly. That is a perfect summarization of how I felt yesterday. And if I could go back, I would stop myself from putting that tweet out. Not because look, people are saying, I didn't actually apologize for it because I don't think there was anything actually wrong with it. Like, I mean, if you read that tweet, for those who aren't aware, I'll just let you know. I put out a tweet yesterday where I said, Merry Christmas, but also a moment of silence for all those who were hoping for a PS5, but ended up opening an Xbox Series S. Like, I'm not kidding when I tell you, I don't understand how anybody could read that. Like, a rational adult human being could read that and genuinely get upset about it. Like, I could understand if you're like, wow, what a Sony pony, what a clown. Like, wow, MBG, okay, I get that. But dude, people were attacking me over this. And I'm not trying to play the victim. I want to make that clear. I can't say I'm that shocked at the attacking. But what gets me about it, and this is important. I think that this is actually a great time to talk about this because I did make a decision after yesterday. And I don't feel bad for that tweet because it was funny. And I don't care what anybody says. That's a funny tweet, at least to me, right? And even if I was somebody who read a tweet like that where it's like, maybe it comes from another prominent content creator on YouTube who maybe covers Xbox, and they were to say something like, a moment of silence for all those who were hoping for an Xbox Series X, but woke up with a PS5 or a PS4 Pro. Like, I would never get upset at that. I would think that's actually pretty funny. Like, okay, good one. I see what you did there. But I understand as well that people are complicated. People have an array of emotions, right? Like, I'm not the most sensitive person. I'm not the softest person, I'm not really like that. But I noticed that there are two types of people. There are two types of people who were getting upset at that tweet. There are some people who genuinely were like a little bit upset, and those are the only people I feel bad for. And actually, because I actually thought, like, how many people read that tweet where that was actually them? Like, they woke up with an Xbox Series S, but they really wanted a PS5. I feel like everybody's had that situation in their life. You could replace the PS5 and the Xbox Series S with anything. Of course, you're going to be grateful that you got something, but when you're really hoping for that one thing and then it's like you get something that's not that, it's actually like the opposite of that, you're going to have that slight feeling of disappointment. So I have to imagine that some people on Christmas Day, read that tweet and were actually upset because they're like, man, like, MBG, he's hurting me here. Like, this happened. And to those people, I'm sorry. That is insensitive because, like, if that was me, I would genuinely be upset. All right. I'll tell you right now, if I was hoping for a PS5 and I opened a Series S and I had no other way, I'd be upset. But then there are other people. Okay. And I'm not going to go on with this for too long, but it's important for me to establish this for you guys because this is important for our community here, I believe. All right. Then there are other people who, when they saw this, they're like, yes, now MBG's going down. Like, I'm going for MBG's throat on this one. And I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised by it. What I really ultimately come down to, or the conclusion I come to, the conclusion I come to is I surprise myself. I surprise myself. That's what it comes down to. I surprise myself that I'm willing to type out these tweets that, regardless of my opinion on my own tweet, there's no doubt that somewhere in my brain I knew, like, this is going to get a big response, and a mostly negative one. Regardless of how harmless I think it is, regardless of how funny I think it is, it's going to happen. And I am disappointed in myself that I still find myself surprised at this. And that's my own fault. Like, that's just me not using my common sense, right? And people are like, oh, you should delete that tweet, whatever. Like, I'm not deleting the tweet. Like, please, just stop, okay? At this point, if I'm going to delete anything, I'm going to delete the entirety of my Twitter. You don't have to worry about me deleting a single tweet. I'm at a point where Twitter, it's not good for me, man. Twitter's not good for me. And I don't know if it's good for somebody else, but for me, it's not good for me. Because it really does set up scenarios where I'll say one thing and then I'll say another and then I'll want to say another and then but here's the point of it though. This is the point I'm trying to make. I have discovered, and I am grateful for this tweet because this tweet opened my eyes. I am grateful that I put this tweet out because it made me finally come to this conclusion that I knew was always there. But you ever have those moments in life where it's like you need that little nudge, like, you need that little push. This was that moment for me where I finally accepted. I always knew, but I finally accepted, holy shit, this is entirely pointless. I mean, there is nothing to be gained from Twitter. There's just nothing. There's nothing good about it. Twitter does not improve my life in any regard. It only makes my life worse. And frankly, I'm probably contributing to that. To other people, right? And I just realized it's just a giant cesspool, frankly, is what it is. And I'm not saying that I'm not part of it. I am, absolutely. I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, I'm above it. No, clearly I'm not. I've been using it for a long time now. And I've just been just keep going and going just to always come back to the same conclusion. So I'm not trying to tell anybody, look, that's my perception, that's my opinion. There are probably plenty of people who use Twitter in a very positive manner, and it's not a cesspool to them. It's positive for them. It helps, it's good for them. But for me, Twitter is not good. It's not a good place for me to exist. It's not a good place for me to interact because it's just not good for me, And I've learned that. That's not to say all of my interactions on Twitter are negative. They're not. There are plenty of positive interactions. There are plenty of things, but ultimately, just this feeling of, man, like, I don't want to use this platform anymore. That's just kind of what's happened. And I guess you could say maybe that if there's any good thing to be taken from that tweet I put out yesterday, is it's just like, I could have lived my life without ever tweeting that. And I could have, and I'm living the life now where I did tweet it. The tweet is not what matters. What I said in the tweet is not what matters. What matters is the point of it. What was the point? And then when I realized there was no point. So where does that leave me? It leaves me with the conclusion, well, why am I doing it then? What is the point? You see what I'm saying? Essentially, what this has come down to, and this is, I feel like this is the perfect time to discuss this because it's December 26th. The next podcast episode I do is going to be in the new year. You're saying MVG, you're getting soft. No, that's the thing, dude. It's not about, oh, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Dude, I realize that it doesn't matter what I do or say. One thing I've learned in life is you are damned if you do and you are damned if you don't. And all I mean by that is you got to commit to how you feel, and you got to accept how you feel and be okay with that for what it is. That's important, I think, for every person, right? Doesn't mean be completely closed-minded. It just means you have to accept you have your own feelings, and that's okay. And they can exist, It's good to be open-minded, but it's not, it comes down to this. This is the point I want to make, because I don't want to go on this for too long. I don't want to go on for this for too long. The point I'm trying to make is that I kind of decided that going into next year, I want to change some aspects of my life. And I think that that's just a common thing for everybody. For us, it could be something regarding video games. But I think for most people, it's you want to change certain areas of your life for the better. You want to improve, right? Any area that can be improved. That's normal. That's healthy. That's what everybody wants to do. I'm no different. The most important question I decided to ask myself is this, and it's this simple. Why am I doing what it is I'm doing? And if I can't come up with a concise, just straight to the point answer, then it's very likely there's no reason for me to be doing it, or no good reason. Because if there was a good reason, I shouldn't have to think so hard about it. It shouldn't take so long for me to answer that question. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't put more thought into it. Maybe it does need more thought. But more often than not, this is what I've learned, is that if you have to think too hard about it, if you have to think too much about it, chances are you don't need it. And it doesn't actually serve a purpose. That doesn't mean you can't just do things for the sake of doing them. That doesn't mean you can't just enjoy things for the sake of enjoying them. But in this case, in conclusion, I've determined that Twitter serves no purpose for me. And the only purpose it does serve is a negative one. Therefore, I don't think I need it. In fact, I know I don't. And yeah, so that's what it is. Sorry to get so heavy there. But again, I had to at least take a moment to talk about this because it's important for me. It's something I want to talk about because going into next year, I'm hoping to improve. I'm hoping to improve a lot of aspects of my life. And a big part of that is this channel, this community, and what we have here on YouTube. So yeah, that's why I felt the need to say, because this does affect you guys in a positive way, I think. Because I see some people are asking me to move on to the next topic. I understand. It's getting all heavy. I got to say, though, one of the things that sucks, it doesn't suck. I mean, I'm grateful for it. It's cold outside. It's nice and warm in here. But, man, I sit directly next to the heater. And when I'm, getting into it, the heat's blowing directly on my face. I'm between that and the coffee, I'm burning up over here, guys. Burning up. Maybe the coffee was a mistake. But anyway, thank you guys for hearing me out on that one. But to get back to what you said, Anthony Perez, just to bring it full circle, because this was coming from a super chat. Look, I have no opinion on the Xbox Series S, truly, because I don't care about it. I don't have an Xbox Series S. I will never get an Xbox Series S. At least I don't plan to. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist in my world. So, the time to talk about a Series S may present itself in the future if, say, there's some cross-gen games. Maybe some developers come out and they're like, yeah, we had to kind of tone things down. Not a cross-gen game, a multi-plat game. We had to tone things down on the PS5 version because of the Series S. Then we'll talk. About the Series S, because it'll be relevant to do so. But for now, it doesn't matter to me. I have no opinion on the Series S because I don't care about it. It doesn't exist to me. That's the best way I can put it. It's like the same reason I don't talk about the Nintendo Switch. You know, people say, "Hey, MBG, how come you don't talk about Nintendo or the Nintendo Switch?" Simply put, it's just because I don't use it. It doesn't really exist to me. Like, I know it's there, and I have to pay a little bit of attention to it for the sake of what I do here on YouTube, but that's why I don't talk about it. The Series S is no different. So, Zanarkand Blitzer, you're saying, I managed to avoid the spoilers of the Spider-Man movie before watching it. Only watched one trailer, but it was hard to avoid, especially YouTube thumbnails. Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. Good for you. I'm glad you were able to avoid it. For me, I had I kid you not, the entirety of the movie spoiled through thumbnails. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know even how, I mean, it's to be expected, right? Maybe I made the mistake of thinking I could go on YouTube and just scroll mindlessly and expect to not have it spoiled. Big Nabs, you're saying Horizon Forbidden West is going to set a very high bar for 2022. I agree with that entirely. I think that the closer we get to Horizon Forbidden West, you read the latest coverage coming from Game Informer, you see the new screenshots, how bustling the towns are, or you know, the just these dense areas with people all around. It's so lively. That combined with how big the world is, just how many different machines there are, the care that obviously went into bringing the content up, not the content, but the content, but also the combat, right? They're going to have all these different skill trees. I agree, Big Nabs. I agree 100%. I think Horizon Forbidden West is going to set the bar, not just high, but very high when it launches. Like, I think people are going to come out and be like, wow, this is, this is a Game of the Year contender for sure. I think people kind of get that feeling just by looking at it. So I agree. It'll be certainly interesting to see, in my opinion, how Sony competes with themselves. Like, I know we talk about like other studios and other games, but to me, I think the most interesting competition is the one that seemingly PlayStation Studios has with itself. You know, like, how will Horizon Forbidden West stack up against God of War? I mean, we know they're both going to be very good, but like, it's just interesting to think about that, you know? So I agree. JDTV, member for 8 months, play has the limits. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. You're saying, Merry Christmas, MBG. Hope you see the clown emoji, or hope to see the clown emoji, and a Squeenix emoji. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That should be on a t-shirt. I gotta make that happen. I know you didn't buy Battlefield 2042, but did you see Angry Joe's rant on the game? It's so fun. Maybe an MBG rant. I've seen his rant on the game pop up multiple times. I probably should have clicked on it. I probably will at some point, but has a lot of views. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I haven't been paying much attention to Battlefield 2042, but yeah, I saw rumors of where the Battlefield franchise is headed for the future. And oh man, it's it's not sounding very, very good. So, but thank you for that, buddy. Zagodka, I think I got your name correctly. You're saying, hi from the snowy NW. Thanks for keeping me company while shoveling a large property. Well, I'm glad, buddy. I'm glad I can keep you company while you're probably doing some backbreaking work there. Shoveling snow is never fun. When I was younger, when I was a kid, I used to think shoveling snow was fun. And I remember my dad would always say, you're not always going to think that. And I was like, what do you know? And now I'm a grown man. And I'm like, yeah, I can confirm it's not very fun. It actually is painful on my back. So I'm glad I could keep you company there, man. Thank you for that. Taking time out to super chat me while shoveling snow, man. Thank you. Primal Plasma, you're saying it stings a little, but the truth hurts. Thanks, MBG. Well, I mean, it's true. You know, that it's true that the truth hurts. It's necessary, though. You know, it's necessary. Big Nabs, you're saying the real tragedy are the kids who opened a GS5. A GS5. Golden Cheeseburger, you're saying you forgot to tweet the podcast. No, I didn't. I did not forget to tweet the podcast, my friend. No worries. I did not forget to tweet it. KD, you're saying if you got an Xbox Series X for Christmas, don't worry. You can still Returnal it. LOL. Oh, yeah, good one. Good one, KD. Hope you had a great Christmas, MBG. I caught Omicron, so stay safe out there, bruh. I'm sorry to hear that, dude. I hope you make a quick and speedy recovery. Hopefully, you don't have any complications. But yeah, everybody stay safe. Obviously, I mean, I've just been chilling at home, so I think I'm good here. But I hope you had a good Christmas too, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the support and love. Black Waifus, you're saying, don't you use Twitter for gaming news? I do, but not as frequently as you would think. You know, like I've kind of discovered that I don't really need Twitter to keep up on most things. It helps and it's nice, and that's probably the only reason I wouldn't delete Twitter. But it is good for that for sure. Primal Plasma, you're saying, don't leave Twitter, bro. Well, don't worry. What I will say is, if you're somebody listening to this for some reason who's like, you know, following me on Twitter or whatever, no worries. Just, dude, my channel is here, man. You know, like, my channel's here, and, you know, you will have the most interaction with me here, and you will probably have the best type of interactions here. So, on YouTube. That's what I'll say to you. All right. Ivan Noah Kachoful, you say, hey, MBG, Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. You're saying, I tweeted you a very funny video about PS5 and Christmas. Come on, man. You're tweeting me stuff when I'm saying I don't want to go on Twitter. No, it's all right. I'll probably still be scrolling through Twitter. So if you send me stuff like that, I'll try to check it out, man. I'll have to look into it. And then Golden Cheeseburger, you're saying, also, hello from Wales. Well, hello, buddy. Thank you guys so much for all the super chats and the support. You guys are awesome. So yeah, you know, I didn't mean to, well, I did mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't mean. I did mean to go on that tangent, you know, and talk about that. And I know that that's not why most of you guys are tuning in right now. I know most of you guys are not tuning in to be like, hey, MBG, tell me your deepest thoughts and, you know, your feelings on Twitter. But as I said, I kind of just wanted to get that out before we go into next year, because I'm like many of you. I view 2022 as kind of a fresh start to a certain extent. So thank you for bearing with me. We are going to move on to another topic, though, which I think maybe we can talk about the Blue Box abandoned thing for a little bit, because we got our first update on that, and I'll give my thoughts on it. Henry Haskin, member for 18 months. Wow. Thank you, buddy. Part of greatness awaits. You're saying, MBG, how do you feel about Xbox delisting their older games like Forza Motorsport 7 and leaving digital users unable to buy them? I think that it's understandable with some games why that happens. I mean, it always sucks when it happens, and it goes to show that, like, if we ever do reach that point of a digital only future, you know, content will not be permanent, right? To a certain extent. If I'm not mistaken, I think that they did come out and say that, hey, it's going to be free for everybody to download for like a week or two, which, somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that they said you could download it for free before it's completely delisted. So what I can say in that case is, like, you know, it does suck, but if they're giving you the option and the opportunity to like secure it before it goes away forever, and it's, you know, it's not limited, like anybody can do it, I think it's fine. And I'm going to be honest, I also have to think to myself, like, I don't know, who would, well, yeah, Forza Motorsport 7, I think that's the last one. I don't know. It's a tough situation, because they have their reasons for doing it. But I don't know, man. This is just why I try my best when I have the opportunity to buy my games physically and have a disc of some kind. You know, there could always be a situation that arises that makes it so I still can't play my discs for some reason. But at least if I do that, I won't have to worry about my games actually going anywhere, you know, or being unattainable. I could run into a problem where I might not be able to play the games for, you know, due to hardware reasons. But, you know, I don't know. You're saying it's also all the music and car licensing. Yeah. That's the nature with some games, man. It's always about the licensing. You know, anytime you happen to see a game get delisted, it's usually because of licensing deals that have expired. And so that's kind of the nature of the beast, man. You know, it happens everywhere, not just games. It's just the way it is. I think I drank too much coffee too quick. Parasolo, you're saying, have you decided which game to prioritize in February? Yeah, so I have It's a great question. I'll let you know real quick. So I am prioritizing at the beginning of February Sifu. I'm hoping I can play Dying Light 2 during the same time, but my priority is on Sifu. I'm just too excited for that game. I'm going to play Dying Light 2 at some point. The question is, will Sifu carry me into Horizon Forbidden West? Because my two games that I'm prioritizing are Sifu and Horizon Forbidden West. Elden Ring is absolutely a priority, but I am willing to play that game less. I'm not willing to put it off, because I'm not. I'm playing Elden Ring day one, but I'm willing to play it less so that way I can get through Sifu and Horizon Forbidden West. And obviously, for my channel, I want to be able to talk about these games, and maybe I'm not making any promises, but maybe stream some of these games, or just I want to make sure that's a big thing I have planned for next year, and I am more serious about it for sure this time. I do want to talk more about games themselves, whether that's more so on the podcast here or making, separate videos, review. I don't want to become like a review channel per se, but I do want to talk more about games. And I think that February is going to be a great opportunity for me to really kind of kick that off in a big way. But the games I'm prioritizing, Sifu, then Horizon Forbidden West, then Elden Ring, in that order. And I fully expect to be finished with Sifu by the time Horizon comes out, or at least feeling like I've, at the very least, completed it. Will I be buying the digital version of Sifu? Yeah, I'm very likely going to double dip on Sifu if I like it enough. If the game turns out to be as good as I'm hoping it is, I'll buy it digitally, and then I would like to have a physical version of it as well, if possible. So, yeah, that's my hope. Kevin Reavers, you're saying, just want to thank you for staying consistent with content and always being transparent. Look forward to a bigger and better next year. Well, thank you so much, man. I'm glad you can appreciate that, because I do try my absolute best. I'm not a perfect person, but I feel like, you guys are my audience. You guys are my community. You guys support me in a way that, is very meaningful to me and impactful. So at the very least, you guys deserve sincerity, honesty, and transparency. So thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Jacob Novik, you're saying, what if a fire happens and burns down your games? Well, honestly, if that were to happen, if my entire games collection were to burn in a fire, I would just, I wouldn't be that upset. I mean, I would have to, honestly, I'd be more concerned what else burned up in that fire. That's what I'd be concerned about. But if it was just my games, I would just shrug it off and be like, well, that sucks, but that's life. Dude, like things come and go. Everything is, as far as we know on planet Earth, finite. So, I'll probably just have some kind of really deep thought about it and move on eventually. I'll definitely be upset. I mean, anybody would be, but things like that happen, and I would probably take it as some kind of message. Like, what does this mean? What is the universe trying to tell me? Okay, so with that being said, I do want to, we could talk about the blue box thing. And Green Out Gill, you're saying Sifu gives me Shenmue and Street of Rage vibes. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you right now, like, the best thing, I do want to say this before we move on real quick. We need to see Slow Clap bring in some Bruce Lee skins, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, anything like that, because I feel like it would just be so cool, right? Also, maybe Sifu could eventually, maybe like a sequel or something, could have like a multiplayer component, like a 1v1. That would be pretty sick. Or even like a co-op type situation. So I think there's a lot of potential for Sifu, for sure. So, so thank you for that. But I'm gonna go over to Blue Box and let you guys know what's being said over there, because, why is Lars Ulrich trending in music? Hold on. I'm getting sidetracked for a second. Oh, okay. It's Lars Ulrich's birthday. Nice. All right. I'm a Metallica fan, so. All right. I'm going to go to Blue Box and see what's going on here. What I thought was kind of strange, I do want to tell you guys, what I thought was strange was that they decided to give us an update during a very strange time. right? Like it's Christmas Eve, like nobody's giving out game news on Christmas Eve or Christmas. And I was thinking like, why would they do that? And I think if I had to guess, like I had to think, why would I do that if I was a game developer? I think it's an attempt to try to garner back some goodwill, or at the very least mitigate the amount of hate you're potentially going to get. Because let's face it, Blue Box has dug themselves into a massive hole that, it could very well prove to be impossible to get out of. And I feel like it's like, well, it's Christmas Eve, it's Christmas, people are feeling good, they're with their families. The chances of, I guess, again, I think it's just to mitigate the amount of potential backlash you could get. Because they've been silent for a long time. They've been quiet for a long time. I think their last update was in October, and it was a very serious update, basically saying, hey, we're getting more threats and whatever, and just kind of telling people like we will take it to the authorities. Pretty serious and loaded tweet. So Chris B, you're saying, I'd try to replace my games with the insurance money if they were burnt up in a fire. That's the nice thing about physical. Get your shit insured. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I would probably, I don't know. I feel like my mind didn't go to that immediately because my mind would legitimately go to, what is the universe trying to tell me? Like I wouldn't even be thinking, I would be thinking like, am I supposed to go all digital now? Is that what it's trying to tell me? Like just convert to digital only? Golden Cheeseburger, again, you're saying thoughts on the new tech demo thingy. So yeah, we'll talk about that. I'm going to go. Okay. So yeah, the last tweet we got from Blue Box Game Studios was on October 17th, where they say a message from us human beings, where they talk about, how many threats they're getting and whatnot, which is obviously a shame. But then on December 24th, they tweeted out, have a read at our first blog on our website talking about the development of Abandoned and plans for Q1 2022. Happy holidays. And then they posted another tweet on Christmas, which was yesterday. And they said tech demo will be available inside the real-time experience app. A notification will be sent. There's a spelling error here. Send once the patch is ready. And they put a picture of a close-up of a female character. It's kind of like a close-up of her eye. It's pretty dark. And so I'm going to read to you the update that they gave us on the blog. So this is over on the Blue Box Game Studios website, and it says dev blog number 1 and the start of a new year. Ever since we announced Abandoned being in development for the PS5 back in April, we faced multiple hardships within the development of the game. With the game being in development since 2017, the concept changed several times, and deciding to work on smaller games next to this title was a burden for us we shouldn't have started. Early 2021, we decided to fully focus on Abandoned, and when we announced the announcement teaser, that's so weird. When we announced the announcement teaser in April, we did not achieve and meet our vision at all, causing us to see, there's like some spelling errors here, causing us to rework on the entire game. Real-time experience launch. Resulting in lots of stress, missed deadlines, and a chaotic production, we announced the Real-Time Experience PS5 app in June 2021 to showcase the game and the tech behind it. Having to know that the Real-Time Experience app was announced too soon and the ongoing pressure of rumors, our teams again faced hardships and to properly showcase the game through the Real-Time Experience, causing it to delay the app not once, but twice. Then they continue on by saying learning curve. With the mistakes we have made, we don't want to make the same mistakes again. All of this has been nothing but a huge learning curve for us. We want to deliver a game that you can enjoy. Now they say tech demo. With the start of a new year, we begin with a tech demo in the Real-Time Experience app via a patch update bundled with a redesigned Real-Time Experience app for a better user experience. The tech demo demonstrates the technology behind Abandoned in real time, showcasing visuals, audio, and the DualSense wireless controller's haptic feedback feature that adds a new layer to the horror experience. And then we got two more small paragraphs here. They say real-time experience app with 3 million PS5 users engaging with a total of 11 million sessions to date. The data comes from Sony. We want to deliver something that is deserving and worth to keep an eye on. The app gets content updates throughout the year. And finally, prologue, a game reveal. I don't know what that is. It said Q1 2022 is going to be interesting for fans of Abandoned, with the game reveal being around the corner and the release of the prologue coming closer and closer. We are working hard to make sure to showcase the game in the best and stable way possible. From the team at Blue Box Game Studios, happy holidays and have a healthy 2022. And that's the entirety of an update. So what's crazy about this is, again, the timing. We are getting more information at one time from Blue Box during a time when you just won't expect it. And so, yeah, we have Hickzock, you're saying S equals $75, teraflop, X equals 42, PS5 equals 49, PS5 digital equals 39. Yet I always see defensive Xbox owners hailing the S as the best value and attacking PlayStation. By the way, you love physical. Well, Hickzock, all I'm going to say to that is I've been an advocate for the, not necessarily the digital. I don't like going digital only, but I just want to say to your super chat, I've always been an advocate for the digital PS5 as being the best value for sure. Like $400, what you're getting, it sucks that it's like impossible to get one, but when they become more readily available, that's absolutely the best deal, in my opinion. I could understand the argument being made for Series S with Game Pass. There's no doubt that's also a good deal, but I'm just talking about if you're really trying to get like that that real next gen experience in terms of like, you know, really getting a big upgrade, something that's like going to really not suffer potentially throughout the years, because, and you know, you're going to get some of the best exclusives that you could get from Sony. I think the digital PS5 is the best value there for $400. But if you don't want to go all digital, you know, then neither that or the Series S are going to be for you. Severin Evans, you're saying, dude, I don't think speculating for Blue Box with all of their negative history will do you any good. I think you should just wait till you see it first. Well, that's the thing. I'm not speculating. I read you their update, and what I'm about to tell you is not speculation. I mean, I'll naturally have to make assumptions, but I am not going down the rabbit hole. I don't know if that's disappointing to some people listening to this, but I'm not going down the rabbit hole. I know what I have to say, and I'm going to say it. And again, I feel like the timing of it is appropriate, so you don't have to worry about that. PlayStation Pete, you're saying why don't all games have difficulty settings? That's a question that I think you need to I can't answer it. And the only answer I can give you is because there are just some game developers where whatever the vision is of their game, they don't see difficulty settings being something that's necessary. My cats may end up paying me a visit here. I forgot to get them out of the room before I started the stream. All right, so guys, do me one favor, by the way. Please hit that like button for me. We're already over 300 likes, which is awesome. Let's see if we can come together and get 400 likes. That would be incredible. If you appreciate the podcast, just hit that like button for me. It takes a second of your time. So this update that we got from Blue Box, I'm going to talk about it in from two different angles. The first angle I'm going to talk about it from is the angle where there are no conspiracies, there are no theories, there's nothing. I'm going to talk about it as if this is just a new studio with a new game, and this is what they're saying. And I'm just basically going to forget about everything that happened. And then the other angle I'm going to talk about is taking into account everything that happened, okay? And I feel like it's important to do this because, you know, we can't pretend that what happened didn't happen, but at the same time, I'm not going to, like, my problem is I've been latching onto that as if that means anything now, and it doesn't. So the first angle is, okay, they are a studio that's clearly made some mistakes. They're aware of those mistakes, but I don't think that anything they do going forward is going to mean anything unless they actually just release it. Okay, so whatever this tech demo is, I have to admit, this is very strange to me. The tech demo is just the strangest thing to me because we're talking about a small indie dev, supposedly, that is limited on resources, but they're still taking this angle that they have something like so awesome that it's worthy of a tech demo. Normally, tech demos are something you only see from like big, you know, like for example, what we just saw from Epic Games with the Matrix tech demo and Unreal Engine 5, like that's, tech demos are usually reserved for something very significant, not indie games. So that is still very much strange. I don't see anything wrong with it. I just think it's extremely weird. And again, it does kind of fall into this category of everything that involves the studio is just weird. And that hasn't changed. So apparently that's the first thing we're going to get. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay? I'll believe it when I see it. That's all it comes down to. Like, if you want to release a tech demo, I'll download the app and I'll check it out. And I hope to God, for the sake of Blue Box Game Studios, honestly, that whatever they show next, it's something of substance. Because if they don't, it's over. I mean, let's be clear. For most people, it's already over. But I mean, it's like, I think there are still some people who want to give them a chance where it's like, okay, if they do end up actually releasing something, we'll at least check it out. But most people don't feel that way. And so what I'm trying to say is there's a small group that is still willing to kind of give them a chance, and they just have to make sure that they don't screw it up with that small group that's still there, So there's the tech demo, and then they're still talking about the playable prologue. I'm not too worried. I don't really care too much about what they're saying about, the mistakes we made and whatever. Like, it's whatever. Like, I get it. You have to say all that. It's fine. It's over. But the playable prologue, this is where I just don't know. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what to think of this game other than that. I guess it's real to a certain extent. They put out like a character model or whatever. But now I'm going to shift to the other angle, okay? Darkborn, you're saying the problem is they said multiple times they can't wait to show us a longer clip to show us the game. It's like it's impossible to show gameplay. So yeah, I'm now going to talk about it from the other angle, okay? I told you guys, okay, I made it pretty clear that I was giving this whole situation with Blue Box and the rabbit hole conspiracy theories the last opportunity I was giving it, to prove that it was something more, was the Game Awards. The Game Awards came and went. Nothing happened. And I wasn't kidding. I know some people probably didn't believe me, but I wasn't kidding. I'm done. Like, I am done. I don't care at this point. I'm not angry. I want to make that clear, because a lot of people express anger and ill will. I'm not like that. All right. Like, I made the decision myself to care, to follow it, to dive down the rabbit hole over and over again, and to get way too invested. That was my decision. I'm not mad, even though I do think that by this point, if it is all bullshit, I mean, they certainly made some mistakes, and that, they're holding themselves accountable for it mostly. So it's like, I'm not here to dump on them or freak out. It doesn't matter. It is what it is, But when I tell you that this is the most important thing I could say, and this should give you an idea of how I actually feel. If sometime next year, if they were to come out and it's like, we got you, we are Kojima, we are Sony, it is Silent Hill, the look on my face is going to be, you fucking kidding me? That's what I'm going to say. That's how I'm going to look. And that's how I'm going to feel. Because that's how I know I'm done. Okay? Like, when you get me to that point, I'm done. So I know I sounded mad. I'm not mad. I'm just saying that clearly something's going to happen next year. And it's either going to be, I don't know. I think we can all agree it's probably just going to be an underwhelming thing. Like, I'm just going to be real. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm not trying to be an a-hole. I'm just trying to keep it, I'm just trying to shoot straight here. I think we can all agree it's probably going to be something underwhelming. So, I'm done. That's all. I'm just done. And I realize now, looking back, that look, if in the end, by this point, it's clear that this was an indie studio, they really screwed up. They got people's attention. They kept people like me and others on the hook. There were times where they tried to tell people like me and you, we're not. I know they kept edging us on, but they were also saying like, we're not. I'm done. That's it. I don't know what else to say. You're saying, please, we want the clown costume. Look, man, I wore the clown outfit, or the not the full outfit, but the wig and the nose, and the timing was right. But going into 2022, I will, at the very least, whatever they release next into the app, I'll check it out. Like I'm not gonna be like, no, I'm completely ignoring it. Like, people get really upset, and I get it. Like, but I'm just not like that. I'm not gonna like hold it like a grudge against a studio. Like, it is what it is, man. I'm over it. I moved on. But yeah, I will say, I am still very interested, though, to know, like, putting the whole blue box thing aside, it's clear by this point that, look, blue box is not Kojima. Blue box is not Kojima Productions. Blue box is not Sony. Okay, putting all that aside, I am still genuinely interested to find out what exactly Hideo Kojima is working on, because for a long time, people were convinced, including myself. I was very convinced that, oh man, this is Kojima. This is all his doing. And it's like, it's not. Then it makes me wonder, well, then what is he doing then? And that's the funny thing, is like, I still have no clue. And I guess maybe sometime next year we'll find out. It could, I don't know that it's Silent Hill. Guillermo del Toro came out and he was like, hey, yeah, I just made that as a joke during the Game Awards to poke at Konami. And I'm like, okay, like, that seemed kind of like, why would you do that, bro? So it is what it is. My focus going into next year is not on that anymore. I will be here, guys. Like, I will be here when Kojima's ready to talk and ready to tell us about his next project. I will be here, and I will be all ears, and I will be likely excited, but my focus going into next year is no longer on Metal Gear, Silent Hill. It's going to happen. I'm not. My focus is on PlayStation and what they're announcing and the games that they have coming out, and that's it. And if any of those things I just listed happen to fall under that, then we'll get there. But I'm not, I'm done with I learned an important lesson this year. I really did. And yeah, I have a completely different mindset now towards it. Yeah. So that's it. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. All right. So, with that being said, we probably should move on to another topic. Let me see. Patrick Wagner, you're saying it's possible Kojima isn't working on a game at the moment. He's making a movie, right? Oh, yeah, that is true, actually. It is true that Kojima Productions did just recently announce the opening of their Los Angeles studio, which is going to be focused on movies and TV shows. So you'd have to imagine that actually that's very possible, because if he were to do that, he'd probably want to be involved in the first project. So yeah, that's certainly possible. Certainly possible. Okay, so what I do want to shift and talk about, okay, and this is what I'm most excited to talk about, is how PlayStation is set to, as I say in the title, have a not just a big 2022, not just a good 2022, but my God, PlayStation as of right now looks like they are set to have a massive 2022. And I say this because I'm reflecting on 2021, and I want to ask you guys, let me know in the chat. I guess that we could do like a we could do, I guess, a grade. I feel like I did this before, but I'll do it again. A, B, C, or D. We'll just go to D as the lowest. Grade PlayStation in 2021 overall, including everything, including game releases, announcements, things that you thought like that were negative news, things they messed up, things that they were lacking, things they did well. Just give a grade, because I'm probably will put out a poll asking you guys this as well, but just for the people who are here in the chat now, I'm curious. I see a lot of B's. I think more than anything, I'm seeing B's. I see a lot of C's as well. I notice I'm not seeing very many A's. I think that makes sense. I don't think Sony had an A year. I think they had I think I'd give them a B. I think I would, because I know that for not everybody, there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, dude, a B is way too high. But from my perspective, I think it just comes down to the games that you enjoyed from PlayStation, because there were a lot of people who didn't play Returnal, who didn't care about Returnal. There were probably quite a few people who didn't care about Ratchet and Clank. But in general, I think Sony had a B year. I do. But I think next year is not just going to be an A year. I think next year, and this is if God of War Ragnarok drops, and I'm not just talking about game releases, I'm talking about game releases combined with new announcements, combined with new things, just all that stuff. I think 2022 is going to be an S tier year. I think it's going to be S tier. I really do. I mean, I could be wrong, and there's probably a good chance I'm going to be wrong, but just the feeling I get, how quiet Sony's been this year, how do we count Deathloop? I don't know. I guess we should. We should count Deathloop. Whether you liked it or not, we should count it. Even though it's a Microsoft game, it's only playable on PlayStation 5. So yeah, I count Deathloop for sure. But I think next year is going to be an S tier. For me, what makes next year an S tier is if I end up playing Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok in the same year. I don't know, man. I don't know. Saying MBG, what grade would you give Xbox in 2021? I'd probably give them a B as well, I guess. Maybe a C. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. I haven't played Xbox a single time this year. Not one time. So I can't really give them a grade. But based off of how other people are reacting towards Xbox, it seems like people are pretty happy. They had a good E3, They were lacking at the beginning of the year, big time, but they seem to have pulled it together. They got like Flight Simulator, Psychonauts 2, Forza, and Halo. And so it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, regardless of how you feel about those games, they pulled it together towards the second half of the year. But again, I haven't played any of them, so I don't know. You're saying you give Xbox an E for effort or lack of? Well, that's the thing. That's the thing here is when I think about 2022, what's fascinating to me is how I just am not thinking about Xbox. And I realize that this is where I have to just be honest with you guys. Again, being transparent. I notice on my podcast specifically, I get asked a lot, or I see a lot of comments, or people being like, dude, why do you talk about Xbox so much? And I realize I do talk about Xbox a lot, but I notice that the context in which I'm always talking about Xbox is in how do they stack up against PlayStation? And I just feel like this is so weird to do anymore, because I don't give a shit about Xbox. And I know that sounds like I'm saying that rudely. I'm not. I just genuinely, in the same way I don't give a shit about Nintendo. And I know that there are some people who are going to be like, well, you should, or it would benefit you. But it's like, look, I started this channel with the intent that, I want to talk about the things that I'm interested in, the things that I care about. And hopefully people who care about those things will also, they'll come to my channel. And I just realized that it's not fair for me. It's not fair to myself. And I don't think it's fair to you guys for me to talk about Xbox as much as I do when I know that I don't care about it. Like, I just don't. I don't play on it. I don't interact with it. I don't follow Xbox really. You know, I noticed that most of the shit I see about Xbox is coming from a hugely negative place. A hugely negative place. And by that, I mean, again, people on Twitter saying shit about Xbox. Or if it's not them talking shit on Xbox, I'm seeing the polar opposite, where I'm seeing either people on Twitter or YouTubers who are like completely immersed in Xbox, only, you know, usually just only talking positively about it. And I'm like existing in both extremes. But what it comes down to is I'm like, this is dumb. Like, it's dumb entirely, because the reason why I'm thinking about PlayStation in 2022 is because I fucking play PlayStation. I have a PlayStation and I play on PlayStation, and that's all I do. That's all I do. And again, to some people, they might be like, well, that's not good. Broaden your horizons, and maybe I will one day. But for now, that's good enough for me. I enjoy that. You know, I don't have this desire. Maybe one day I will. But, you know, I am paying attention generally to what other platforms are doing and what they're announcing. You know, like I can look at something like the Steam Deck and be like, I know why people are excited for that. I know why people think that's awesome. I don't care. Like, I just don't. I don't go out nearly enough to ever justify something like that. And I like the big TV, you know, sitting in a lounge chair experience. You know what I mean? So it's just, you're saying no love for Nintendo. It's not that I don't have love for Nintendo. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't, only because it's like, it wouldn't be genuine. Like, I just am not interested in Nintendo. I'm just not. I have nothing against it. I have nothing against Nintendo games. It just doesn't appeal to me. It just doesn't, you know? And I can't force it. Maybe one day it will. Maybe one day I'll just be like, you know what? I'm going to go play this game, this Nintendo game, because screw it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go do it. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we're in this, when it comes to talking about gaming, I feel like we are at a point, and I think it's always been like this, where people feel like obligated. Like, well, I have to like this. Like, it's like you have to be qualified. Like, no, I don't have to be qualified for anything. I don't need any. I made a YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about the things I want to talk about. And if people want to show up, they can. If they don't have to. I'm not saying people have to listen to me. Dude, don't, like, who's being like, I'm going to go to MBG to hear about Mario? Like, no one. Literally no one. You know what I mean? So I just feel like when it comes to Xbox, it's probably the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, nobody should be coming to me to hear about Xbox. And I realize that the only time I talk about Xbox is usually when I'm trying to stack it up to PlayStation. So that way we can all come together and be like, PlayStation's better. And I get it. There are areas for sure where PlayStation is significantly better than Xbox, in my opinion. And a lot of us could probably right now agree with that statement. But I guess I'm doing reflecting. That's all, guys. I'm just doing some reflecting here because I'm just trying to make it, once we enter 2022, man, like, I want to have a clearer focus on what this channel is, what my content is, and why you guys come to my channel to watch the content, you know? And I just think that one of the biggest things that I've discovered in reflecting in 2021, because I was looking at my content, is that, wow, man, I spent a hell of a lot of time talking about Xbox and no time playing it. And that's where it's like, that something's wrong there, you know? It's the last podcast of 2021. Need for the reflection. I'm all for it. Yeah, dude. JDTV, you can't seem to not be fixated on me wearing the clown wig that one time. MBG, is my name still misspelled? Is it? I don't know. I'll have to double check. I'll correct it for January if that's true. Tyson Webb, you're saying you need to look into Sons of the Forest. It's coming out this year. This could end up being your game of the year. Get ready. I did hear about that game actually. Isn't that a sequel or a prequel or something like that to the game The Forest? I'll have to look into it. Sons of the Forest. Saying it's coming out. When you say it's coming out this year, you mean, I mean, this year, there's only a couple more days left in this year. I don't know if you meant 2022. Simon saying, MBG, you are cool, bro. There is a YouTube channel called Turboverse TV. He made a vlog about your Twitter post yesterday. I feel sorry about those that got Xbox. He joked on you. Please respond. Oh, dude, I don't care, man. I don't know what response should I give. The dude thought that, oh, MBG put out a tweet that I can dunk on, and I don't even know who this is. Like, I don't know how to respond, bro. I don't waste my time, on stuff like that. I've already established that people will come after me just like they go after anybody else. Like, if people have I'm just assuming based off of what you're saying, this is a type of YouTube channel where they all of their content, or the majority of it, is them basically making fun of other people's what other people are saying or doing. And, that exists all over YouTube, man. That exists everywhere. There are a lot of people who it's just, they get pleasure in life by just, I don't know, laughing at other people and calling other people out and going to war with them and whatnot. And I'm just, dude, I'm not doing that at all. Like, I don't give a shit, man. I give a shit to the extent of how do I feel about it. And when it comes to something like this, whatever this is, dude, trust me, man. Trust me. I got a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about that tweet from yesterday. I got a lot of people saying stuff to me all the time. And I'm going to be honest, I turned it off, man. I'm tuned out. I don't listen to any noise anymore, especially after yesterday, dude. But the important thing is I'm not doing that from a place of, oh, I just want to be ignorant to everything. No, it's just, I know what's right for me, just like what's right for you. And I'm going to do what's right for me. That's what matters. That's what's going to help me. That's what's going to get me to a better place. I don't give a shit what anybody else has to say or what they think. I don't care. The people are going to think what they want. People are going to do what they want. My goal is not to influence other people and how they feel about me. No, my goal is to get myself to a better place. And that's that. So yeah, I'm not surprised, to hear that. I'm sure plenty of people made videos or tweets or whatever they did. Goddamn, I'm being serious when I say, I had no idea that tweet was going to really ruffle that many feathers, man. I just thought it was funny, but it is what it is, bro. I must really be getting up inside some people's heads if they feel the need to actually make a video on a fucking tweet that I shit you not, 1 minute to type. But hey, man, that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. That's the power of the internet. KD, you're saying, okay, back to more important topics. Top 5 thickest female characters of 2021. I'll leave that list to you, KD. I think that's a list that you would be better off making. So, more power to you, buddy. 47, member for 23 months. Damn, dude. That's practically 2 years. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that long-term support, bud. You're saying, I liked Nintendo, but then I turned 10. It has been 27 years now since I have not touched their games. Mario, etc., etc. It is not for me. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I kind of feel the same way. I have interacted with some Nintendo games, and I know people that play Nintendo games, and I have just this kind of vicarious relationship with Nintendo, where it's almost like I experienced Nintendo and their games vicariously through other people playing them and talking about them, and I see just the general conversations, you know what I mean? And that's about it, because I just don't have that innate desire to be like, I want to get a Switch and I want to play this game on the Switch. I just don't. I don't, Let me see. Green Owl Gill, you're saying, start tallying the number of times you go off topic, LOL. But that's just the nature of my podcast, man. I don't think anybody comes to an MBG podcast being like, okay, he's going to go in exact order with these topics and not deviate from them at all. Like, I think people come to my podcast for the exact opposite, where we get to some topics and then we take some side paths, we take some detours, and then we circle back around. KD, you're saying, have you considered doing the 2021 MBG Awards? No, I would never do something. I do want to talk about some of my, topic, my experiences throughout this year, my award for best game that's not actually a game, Abandoned. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know. MVG Awards, nah, dude. JDTV, you're saying, I'm just joking with the clown thing. Hope you don't take it personal, buddy, but that was fun. What's your favorite Star-Lord band song from Guardians? No, dude, I'm not. Don't worry about it, man. Like, I'm not taking it personally. I know you're just messing around, dude. It is funny. And it was a good time. So no worries there. My favorite song, I don't know, man. I have to look at the list. I know that there are some songs there that like I certainly recognize and some songs I really like, but I can't recall like the name of the bands or the name of the songs. It's just like one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I've heard this song before. I like this song, but you don't actually know anything about it. But that's pretty much been my experience with the soundtrack of Guardians of the Galaxy, where every time I hear it, I'm like, oh man, this kicks ass. Like, I love this. And then I'm like, I don't even know the name of the band. I don't know the name of the artist. I don't even know the name of the song, but I've heard it before and I like it every time I hear it. I have to see a list. I'm sure there's a couple songs on there that I would actually know. Is Billy Idol on there? I don't think I've heard him in that game yet. Billy Idol's pretty good. Space Gambler Jr., member for 12 months. Play has no limits. Thank you so much, dude. You're saying, MBG, hope you had a Merry Christmas. 12 months, almost got that classic PS logo. Thank you so much, dude. Yeah, when people get that classic PlayStation logo, that's definitely, proof that you've been a member for a long time. So thank you, man. Really appreciate it. And I hope you had a good Christmas, too. A Caped Crusader, you're saying, bro, I gave Guardians a chance due to the positive word of mouth, and wow, this game is amazing. Surprised, just like I was when I finally played Days Gone. Yeah, dude, I feel that, man. I feel that for sure. That's exactly how I felt about it. Like, I really went in thinking, like, I'm probably not going to like this as much as everybody else did, but, there's enough here that I'm interested in to at least give it a try, and I'm like, dude, this is one of the best games I've played all year, for sure. And Simon, you're saying, yeah, did you say that you were joking and you shouldn't care? It's just that it gave Turboverse TV ammunition to make a vlog so that he can poke fun at us PS5 owners. He does this every day. Oh, okay. Well, that tells me all I need to know, man. Like, I've been there. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm holier than thou. Okay, guys? Anybody who's been following my channel for a long time, you know where I come from. You know that, for a large portion of 2018 and the half of 2019, or a large portion of 2019, that was me, man. Like, I was just constantly being that antagonistic, like, Xbox sucks, Xbox fans suck, like, everything about Xbox sucks. And I look back and I'm like, damn, that was pretty stupid. Like, I was legitimately the very thing that I hate, and we live and we learn, and a lot of people told me that, like, hey man, like, that's just what you did. And this is why, you're part, like, you can't commit the crime and then also play the victim. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm making it clear, like, dude, I understand people are going to do what they do. Like, I'm not upset about it. I'm not hurt by it. It's a self-reflection where it's like, well, I did that too. And I know where that comes from. And I know why people do it. And I just learned pretty much, last year and especially this year that I'm done. I'm done. I'm retiring from that game. I'm not playing that game anymore. Everybody it's all fun and games till, it's not. And you just like, I just feel like I'm done, I'm out, man. I got other things. I got more important things to do and worry about. And it was cool while it lasted, but and I'll admit, and this is where this is where it's important to be truthful, man, where the reason why I did so much of that back then was because, Xbox made it easy for me. And I don't want to say I completely regret it, because it's like, it is what it is, but they made it easy for me to just kind of, go in hard and just not, and I didn't think about like, well, dude, like how is this going to affect you in the long run? How is this, I'm not thinking about like, I'm just not thinking, and I'm just simply reacting, I'm not responding. I'm just reacting, and I'm just doing it because I know like, oh yeah, this is, people are going to find this funny. And I realized that like, yeah, it's not worth it. That's what I'm trying to ultimately say. It's just not worth it. That's all. For some people it is, but for me, I found that no, it's just not. It just sucks. It just sucks. Like, that's not what I'm interested in, But with that being said, I do kind of want to get back on topic here. I apologize. I keep doing. I'm not just getting off topic. I'm like going way off topic. One last thing I want to say. I know, because I see you guys responding, and I'm sure I'm going to get comments on this episode of the podcast. I just want to say this, guys. I know I don't need to be sorry, and I hope people are not taking it this way. Like, I'm not out here being like, I'm sorry. What'd I do, man? I can't believe I did that. Like, no, guys, we're talking about fucking video games, okay? Like, we're talking about consoles. We're talking about. It's not that serious. I'm not. It's not like that. I'm simply just making it clear that I have plans going forward, and I have things that I want to achieve and things I want to do, and I'm separating, like, it's a new start. That's what I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. Because I see some people that are like, damn, dude, like, you don't have to be sorry, you're being too hard on yourself. It's not that. It's all about personal growth. That's what it is. So, I mean, I do also want to say there's nothing wrong with taking video games seriously. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to downplay it. Like, video games are very important to me in my life. Video games mean a hell of a lot to me, and they are something I do take seriously. I just mean, like, when it starts to veer into like negative territory where it's like, whoa, well, let's chill out. Come on. Gaming's supposed to be about having fun and enjoying these games, right? That's what it's about. Somebody was just honking outside. So, yeah. All right. So getting back on topic, talking about PlayStation in 2022. So we established here that PlayStation is going to have a huge 2022. I think it's going to be S tier. I want to ask you guys, what game between Horizon Forbidden West and between God of War Ragnarok? Because this is the one where I can't answer this question. Like, I really don't know. I feel like I have an answer, but I'm not entirely confident in it. Between Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, and I don't mean to downplay GT7. But it's just, let's face it, GT7 is a vastly, completely different game from Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok. They're not comparable on any levels, other than they'll both be high quality. But between God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West, both releasing next year, which one, man? Like, which one are we more excited for? Because for me, I feel like right now I want to say Horizon, but I know that that's because I'm seeing all of this new stuff in front of my face, and God of War is kind of taking a back seat for the marketing of Horizon. But I feel like in my heart, it has to be God of War. I feel like for me, it's God of War. But I don't know, man. Horizon is really making a case with its everything they've been showing. It is, and then I'm not gonna lie, like, Elden Ring is part of that conversation for me. Between, like, the three games, I'm telling you, 2022 will be S tier for me no matter what. Because if by the If by December 26, 2022, I'm doing a podcast and I'm like, guys, let's reflect on 2022, and I played Horizon Forbidden West, I played Elden Ring, and I played God of War Ragnarok, and God knows what else I'll play. I mean, damn, dude, that's crazy. That is a crazy year. The Cape Crusader is saying, I hope I'm wrong, but I fear God of War Ragnarok might disappoint. This is the biggest project Santa Monica is developing, and they're giving it to a new guy. Well, I'll be honest with you, man. The Cape Crusader, I do see exactly where you're coming from, and this has happened to me. This happened to me with The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I'm sure anybody who was around for that knows what I'm talking about. That game was like the game for me, man. That was the game for me, and I was not prepared whatsoever for the direction they went in. And I couldn't accept it. Like, I just couldn't accept it. I accept it now. It is what it is. But I just remember, like, I was devastated. I was genuinely, and I have no shame in saying that. And I know that there are going to be people who, like, make fun of me where it's like, oh, you just can't appreciate a good game. No. Like, it's not about that. I'm not here to argue with anybody about, oh, this is what's wrong with The Last of Us 2. I'm just saying, like, for me and me only, I was not prepared for that, and it was genuinely upsetting to me because I was like, I was so excited for this game, and it's just not what I thought it was going to be. And that's okay. You know, that was, again, another lesson learned where you always have to be prepared. You know, that's what I learned with a game like The Last of Us 2 is you have to be prepared for anything. You have to be prepared for, hey, dude, you might not like this, bro. The Matrix Resurrections, guys, I just saw this movie. I'm not going to spoil anything, but this is a great time for me to actually mention that because you brought up God of War. Dude, The Matrix to me is a special movie. Like, the Matrix trilogy is special to me. I watched it growing up, and I've watched it so many times since. One of my favorite trilogies of all time, especially the first movie. I think the first movie is nearly perfect. Neo was like one of my all-time favorite characters, and I remember always wishing that they would do another one. And I couldn't believe with Matrix Resurrections that, holy shit, they're actually doing another movie. And I just couldn't believe it. And I remember, like, you know, people kept asking me, like, what if it's not good? And I said that. I kept saying they would have to go really out of their way to make me dislike this Matrix movie. Now, I don't dislike the movie, like, I don't hate it. But let me just tell you, it was not the Matrix movie I was hoping for. And my expectations were not that high, man. They weren't. Like, they were relatively high, just not like through the roof. And it's not like, oh, they didn't do this and they didn't do that, and I'm upset. I just mean, like, I expected at the very least just like a good movie that left me feeling good. That left me feeling like, oh yeah, that was cool, like Matrix 4. But instead I was legitimately left feeling like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't, that wasn't really what I wanted. Like, I don't know how to feel. I feel like almost indifferent. Like, I feel like this movie could have not existed and I would have felt the exact same way, you know? And so that's how I felt about The Matrix. And so when I talk about The Last of Us Part 2, it wasn't like that. It was more than that. It was like, wow, I had a million different scenarios in my head of the different directions they could have went in, and they went into like a direction that I would have never seen coming. Some people like that. Some people think that's good. I just didn't like it, you know, and it's okay. Like, I'm not mad about it or anything. It's like, dude, The Last of Us 1 exists, and it will always exist, just like The Matrix 1 exists. I can always enjoy these, and I'm grateful they exist. I don't have to like everything, you know, and you don't have to like everything. And so to get back to the super chat, you're saying God of War might not be good, dude. You're right. It might not. I'm confident. I feel confident that it will be at the very least good. I feel even somewhat confident that it'll be amazing. But there is always that possibility that what if it comes out and it's like, for me, another Last of Us 2 situation where it's like, I can't believe what they did. I can't believe this. I didn't think I would be feeling this way. You know, that's a possibility, man. That's a possibility. So you always got to keep that in mind. You know, I guess I don't want to get my expectations too high anymore for anything. I always want to leave that room for potential disappointment. You know, and when you get your expectations so high, you are making it easy easier to be disappointed. But I'm trying to just go into things anymore with an open mind. And, if it leaves me, again, The Matrix Resurrections is a good example of if it doesn't hit all the notes I was hoping and just leaves me feeling kind of like, meh, then that's fine. It's, it's disappointing, but it's fine. But I think God of War, I have confidence in God of War. I know what you mean about them bringing in a new guy, Eric Williams, but Eric Williams, apparently he's been there for a long time, man. And Corey Barlog felt confident giving the game to him. So, I wouldn't worry too much. Darkborn, you're saying, what do you think about that big PlayStation remake featuring an Irish song that was going to be revealed in December? What do you think happened? Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems very likely that that's a real thing. That game is Chrono Cross. Apparently, Chrono Cross Remake is a real thing. We've heard it from multiple sources. We even had it leaked by a woman who worked on the music for it, and it didn't get announced. So, for one reason or another, she was either confused and she thought it was going to be revealed in December, but it actually wasn't, and it never was going to, or they decided to move the announcement back. I mean, I know that some people are naturally going to gravitate towards, does this mean that it'll be announced at like a PlayStation showcase early in the year? Anything's possible. I'm not holding out hope for that. But who knows? But it does exist apparently. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see when. We'll have to wait and see when they want to announce it. But I did kind of forget about that. Buddy Cactus, you're saying God of War Ragnarok 100%. That's the game that you're most excited for between the two. Big Norman 0518, thank you so much for the generous, I can't speak today, donation, buddy. Really appreciate that. You're saying, sorry I'm late. Just wanted to say that I have always greatly appreciated you and your content, and I hope you and your family had a great Christmas. P.S. I'm still looking for a PS5, and I'm super excited for Horizon. Well, thank you so much for that, Big Norman. Yeah, dude, I see you around all the time, and we did have a great Christmas. I hope, you and your family had a great Christmas as well. And as I always say, I'm very grateful that you appreciate my content, man. You said you're still looking for a PS5. Yeah, dude, that's a shame. I feel like it just shouldn't be this way. Things could be worse, but it's going to be interesting to me. Not interesting, but it's going to be good. It's just going to be good. It's not going to be interesting. It's going to be good when everybody who wants a PS5 can just get one and enjoy it, and enjoy the games. And happy to hear you're excited for Horizon, man. KD, you're saying, shaking my head, Last of Us 2 is absolute fire. MBG, you bugging. Hey, dude, it is what it is. I have my own opinions. You have yours. I don't think you're wrong for thinking it was absolute fire. I don't think I'm wrong for thinking it wasn't that at all. I think that we can coexist and we can agree to disagree, right? So don't let my opinion of the game ever hinder how you feel about it. If you think it's great, enjoy it, buddy. But yeah, so, we'll kind of transition to naturally the next thing here, which is, so we've established that between the games, let's talk real quick. Let's do a quick rundown. The games that Sony has ready for next year, or that are supposed to be ready for next year. So we got Sifu. You know what? I don't even know why I'm going to bother trying to do this off the top of my head. I'm just going to do PlayStation exclusives 2022. I know a lot off the top of my head, but I'm just curious to see if I miss any. Surely there has to be some lists here I can pull from. This looks like a pretty intense list. Wow. Okay, I got like a whole slew of games here. A lot of third-party games, though. Okay, so I got this picture up in front of me. I'm sure that this is missing some games. Sifu isn't even on there. But the games, the exclusive games, the games that are going to be exclusive to PlayStation that are set to come out. Golden Cheeseburger, you're saying, I cannot tell if I enjoyed God of War or not, so Horizon Forbidden West. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so we got Sifu coming out. I'm not counting God of War on PC because that's not a new game. It's just going to be new for PC players who haven't played it. But we got Sifu, we got Horizon Forbidden West, we have Forspoken, or we have GT7, we have Forspoken, We have Ghostwire Tokyo. I think that's a game that people forgot about. Little Devil Inside. And then we have God of War Ragnarok. Final Fantasy 16 is apparently set to come next year. And I feel like I'm missing some. Guys, please tell me, am I missing some? I'm certain that I am. I have to be missing some. MLB The Show. Okay, yeah. MLB The Show. Well, GTA 5 isn't an exclusive. I'm trying to go with the exclusives. Last of Us remake. Nah, that's not going to release next year. It might be announced next year if it's real, but it won't be released. All cross-gen games. Come on, Sony, with that. Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. Stray. Yeah, I forgot about Stray. Stray is another one. The Uncharted collection. I guess we could count that. I don't want to count that because I'm trying to stick to like newer games. But yeah, that is coming out in January as well. GT7, Final Fantasy 16. So yeah, I think we pretty much covered all of them. Wolverine won't be coming out for a long time. Babylon's Fall. Okay, there's that too. Abandoned. Yeah. Factions. Factions will, I want to say it'll probably be announced in 2022. It has to be. It has to be. This Last of Us multiplayer game has to be announced in 2022. Say Little Devil Inside, unless you said it already. I did. Project Eve. Yeah, I forgot about that one as well. So it seems to me that PlayStation has a pretty stacked 2022. Assuming that all these games if all of these games come out next year, that's crazy. I don't think they're all going to come out. But if they all come out next year, that's a pretty crazy lineup for Sony. A very strong one, I think. So 2022 is looking pretty locked in. I saw somebody say that, it sucks that they're all cross-gen. Yeah, it does. But we've established already that 2022 is another year of cross-gen. It was always going to be, considering how the PS5 launched, how 2021 went. But I'm telling you, man. I want to see cross-gen end by 2023. That's what I'm expecting. Forspoken isn't cross-gen. That's correct. So it's worth noting, Forspoken is PS5 only. It's also PC. So I think maybe in the eyes of some PlayStation 5 owners that diminishes it a little bit in terms of what it could possibly achieve, depending. But saying cross-gen will never end. Well, I mean, at least from Sony and their exclusives. I'm telling you, it sucks that we have to accept everything, pretty much almost everything is going to be cross-gen, but I don't know, man. I know that God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West, they're cross-gen, but I'm not any less excited for them. I'm not. I would be lying if I said I was. I'm not any less excited for them. Do you know what I'm really interested to learn about? I've been thinking about this recently. We talk about major PS5 reveals that could possibly happen next year. Do you guys remember that rumor that we talked about earlier this year? It wasn't that long ago. It's probably last month, actually. Maybe a month before that. We know that Sony bought Bluepoint Games, so Sony owns Bluepoint Games now as a first-party studio. I love how there's just these rumors that are seemingly coming from decent or good sources that say that Bluepoint Games is working on Bloodborne 2. That they're finishing up a remake, or not a remake, a Bloodborne remaster for PS5. If a Bloodborne remaster for PS5 is real, I think it's safe to assume it'll probably come out next year. It's just an assumption. But man, do you guys think it's true? I don't know, man. I know that this is kind of random, but I'm just trying to imagine what the reveal of a Bloodborne 2 from Bluepoint would be like. Wow, we have a very generous donation. Thank you so much, man. Cape Crusader dropping $100. Very, very generous of you, man. Very generous. Really, thank you for that. You didn't have to do that, buddy, but thank you so much, man. You're saying Matthias de Jong, or Young, I don't know how you would say his last name. Matthias de J is what I'll say, is back for Horizon Forbidden West, which is going to be the biggest game ever for Guerrilla. I feel like Santa Monica should be doing the same, but hey, I'm really hoping I'm wrong. Either way, MBG, Merry Christmas. You're my favorite gaming channel, 100. Keep grinding, brother. Thank you so much, dude. That really means a lot, man. It means a lot. I'm not saying that just because, oh, you donated 100, but I mean, you know, anything you guys do to support me, it means a lot. You know, I know that, you know, I assume all of us here know the value of $1. So to drop, you know, any super chat whatsoever and a bigger donation as well, pretty awesome, man. Thank you so much. And I do agree with what you're saying. Like, I understand what you're saying. You're basically saying, like, it almost seems like Guerrilla is pushing for more innovation to an extent with it, and really trying to push the boundaries, push the envelope of like an open world game. And I guess you're trying to say that you're really hoping that Santa Monica Studio with God of War Ragnarok is able to do the same thing. Saying you basically pronounce it Yanga or Yonga. Okay. Yeah, I'll just call him Matthias. I think that's the best way for me to do it before I end up butchering more people's names. But I do agree with what you're saying to the extent where it's like, you know, Guerrilla, what I'm getting from the more recent reveals, like they're showing the new machines, they're showing how vast the world is, how diverse the world is, they're showing the density of the crowds, they're showing how much attention and care they're putting into fleshing out the actual gameplay. I agree, man. Like, I hope that we see all of these things minus the open world part on display for you know, for God of War Ragnarok as well. And I think we just got a glimpse into God of War Ragnarok. I think once we see like that state of play that we talked about, I think we'll get that. Darkborn, you're saying, I feel like BP was bought as a remake studio, but they are branching to make new games. Bloodborne, Infamous Resistance, and Sunset Overdrive are big. So, yeah, the thing is, dude, Bluepoint did confirm that they are working on original how did they frame it? Somebody has to correct me on this. Not original. I think they said original content, but it's pretty obvious that it's based on an existing IP. So there's no, I don't think they were bought as a remake studio, dude. Well, you know what? You're saying it right. You're saying it correctly. You're saying, but they are branching to make new games. So you're saying that we could see a new Bloodborne game from Bluepoint, you know, maybe a new Infamous game, a new Resistance. So I think you are correct, Darkborn. We have another very generous donation, $50 from Thorax. Wow, dude, thank you so much, man. Guys are, you know, really appreciate all the love. You guys always deliver every time, man, with just showing truly like how how much the podcast and whatnot and the content means to you. And I sincerely thank you for that. I don't want to keep, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but thank you. You're saying February looking good for us gaming fans, but man, we gonna be broke after February as well. Way too many releases. It used to be October when we go broke, but now it's February. Yeah, dude, that's the interesting thing about this situation is when you look at how stacked, I mean, dude, February is ridiculously stacked. That is usually reserved for October or November. And even then, it's usually spaced out between those 2 months. We're seeing an entire month stacked with game releases that could very well be the entirety of an October and November. And I think that is due to, you know, the pandemic, man. I think that that is how we are feeling the effects in gaming even now, still, like going into 2022. We're getting a month in February where it's like, how many of those games were actually targeting holiday 2021? I'm going to say probably quite a few. You know, Elden Ring was going to be January, but even that got delayed. Horizon was targeting 2021. You know, that I know there's that Evil Dead game. I think everybody's forgetting that the Evil Dead game that I think looks really good. The Evil Dead game is actually scheduled for February as well. You know, I think Sifu was scheduled for 2021. So yeah, I mean, most of these games were supposed to come out this year, man, but they, you know, they couldn't make it. They needed more time. Evil Dead. Yeah, dude, I think it looks good, man. You're saying you think I should be a voice actor? I don't know about that. Stalker 2 will be on PS5 in 2022. Yeah, I noticed that a lot of Microsoft's timed exclusivity deals are for 3 months, and I think that Stalker is one of those games. Man, that NFT situation with Stalker was bizarre, man. I think it's safe to say that gamers don't want NFTs in their games. I love how, like, this was pretty funny to me. I think I actually had the article up here too. I meant to talk about this, not to deviate too much, but did you guys see how, like, there was all this blowback for NFTs where, you know, Stalker 2 was like, we're going to do NFTs. We're going to do a metaverse within our game. And everybody's like, no, everybody dislikes that. Everybody hates that. And they're like, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to do that. Meanwhile, Ubisoft is out here. I have the article right here because I meant to talk about it in a video. Do I have it up? Did I lose it? Okay. So apparently Ubisoft has only sold, you ready for this? You ready for this? Brace yourselves. People probably wondering, well, we know that Ubisoft is selling what they're calling quartz, NFTs. They sold a whopping 15 NFTs. 15, like, holy crap. That's beyond abysmal. And you would think that Ubisoft would get the message that, well, nobody's buying them and gamers hate them. So what does Ubisoft do? They come out here, and here's an article from PlayStation Lifestyle. Following backlash, Ubisoft says players will accept its NFT push with time. And it's just like, come on. And here's the quote. Ubisoft says, we've received a lot of feedback since the announcement, and we hear both the encouragement and the concerns. Yeah, I'm sure there's so much encouragement. We understand where the sentiment towards the technology comes from, and we need to keep taking it into consideration every step of the way. Our main objective with Ubisoft Quartz is to showcase the true value of decentralization to our players. LF.im, I don't know who they are, played a key role in the realization of our vision by allowing us to go one step further, blah, blah, blah. The point is, they're saying, no, you're going to accept it. Like, we're going to do it and you're going to accept it. And this is just where I'm like, come on, man. Why? Like, just stop. Gamer Nation, you're saying neither me or any From Software fan will support it unless From Software has involvement. Yeah, you know, Gamer Nation, you're talking about the possibility of Blue Point Games making a Bloodborne 2, and that's, yeah, look, man, that is the sentiment. I have to imagine that if it's true, if Blue Point Games is working on Bloodborne 2, surely to some extent, From Software is involved. I don't know that they would be co-developing it with From Software, but maybe they would. I don't know, man. Bloodborne, if you think about it, Bloodborne was a co-development project with Sony's Japan studio. So the idea of Blue Point working with From Software as a co-developer, that's what Bloodborne was. Bloodborne 1, I think people forget, was a co-developed game. So I think it's likely, man. I don't think we would get Bloodborne 2 without From Software's involvement. I think Sony has to know that. I think Blue Point knows that. I don't even think Blue Point would attempt it unless they could get From Software involved. So I think that the Gamer Nation, what you're saying, I think that Sony, I could be completely wrong, but I think that they understand that. They have to. How could they not? Zay Very Rare, member for 2 months. Greatness awaits. Thank you, buddy. You're saying next year will be great for gaming. Chilling in the office at Double D's while drinking a frozen chocolate is amazing right now. Yeah, dude, it's that time of the year, man. Enjoy it. You know, enjoy it. I think that everybody's kind of earned it. You know if you've earned it. You know if you've earned the R&R. So enjoy it, buddy. Thank you. Thorax, again, you're saying, I forgot Dying Light 2 in February. Love the first game. Didn't get the credit it rightly deserved. Yeah, I think the strangest thing to me, to be completely honest, about Dying Light 2 is how far removed it is from the first game. The first game came out in January of 2015. So, you know, that's a long time between the first and second game. And I'm excited for it, and I'm genuinely interested to know like how different it was, because I did play Dying Light 1. I did enjoy it. And I agree. I don't know that it got all the credit it deserved, but I think it's mainly because it kind of fell off of the radar for a while, you know? Like, I think people were expecting a follow-up quickly. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that it took so long. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that it took so long for them to develop it. I think it could be a good thing. If anything, it should be a good thing. But yeah, dude, where are we going to find the time? I think what drives me crazy about thinking about February and the amount of releases is why couldn't at least 2 of those games, or even just one, why couldn't any of them at least come out in January? You know, like we're going to have a whole month of just waiting to then be to wait for an avalanche, basically, you know? That's the thing that pains me. December, it's understandable to get no games or very few games in December. It's December. But January, getting nothing just to have an avalanche of games in February? Come on, man. Somebody move your game up. I do want to say, too, what's driving me even more insane is these games are going gold. So, like, Dying Light 2 is a great example of a game. It went gold, man. Like, move it up to mid-January, or at the very least, the last week of January. You can make that happen, you know? But I don't know, man. That's just how it is. Primal Plasma, you're saying MBG ignoring NFTs is leaving money on the table. Well, I'm sure for people who care about NFTs, that's true. Like I'm not gonna dive deep into the NFT conversation again because we did that last week and it got really deep and weird. I liked it, but I can't do that again. I can't do that on a weekly basis. All I'm gonna say is that I don't have any interest in NFTs. And I plan to not spend any money on NFTs. That's all I can say. That's all it is. You know? So, MBG Digital Foundry said Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the best graphics game of 2021. What's your thoughts? Have you seen their ranking video? I haven't. I saw their video pop up. I didn't watch it. I thought I'll have to look into it, man. I wouldn't be surprised. Ratchet and Clank was the best looking game, I think, this year. I'm trying to think if I played anything that was more impressive. I don't think so. I do not think so. Oh, you know what? Here's an interesting conversation I want to have with you guys, because I meant to talk about this recently. So we talked a couple of times about Guardians of the Galaxy and, you know, part of the reflection of 2021 and looking back at my first full year with the PS5. All right. One of the things I kept talking about, not only at the launch of the PS5, but all throughout this year, and I'm sure that anybody who plays on PS5 right now listening to this can kind of vouch for this. Almost everything I played has been at 60 frames per second. And almost everything I played has had the option to play it either at a lower resolution at 60 frames or a native like 4K at a locked 30 frames. And pretty much every time I've had that option, I've played at 60. And I did this thing, and I think a lot of people, please tell me in the chat or in a comment if you do this as well. When I have the option, I'll like keep flicking it on and off. Like, okay, here's what 4K 30 looks. Here's what, dynamic 4K or whatever 60 looks like. And I'm like switching them on and off in like as I'm playing it. And it's crazy when you do that. When you do that, like, my God, you see in real time, like, how big of a difference that extra 30 frames is, man. And you can, what I've realized is your eyes adjust. Your eyes adjust to that 30 frames. And that's what's so weird to me, because the first game that I decided I have to play this at 30 frames, or I'm going to try to play it at 30 frames, is Guardians of the Galaxy. The reason for this is because for some reason with Guardians of the Galaxy, if you want to play it at 60 FPS, it's at a locked 1080p. Now look, I'm not trying to be like a resolution snob, but I don't play games at 1080p anymore. It's been a long time since I played any game at 1080p, and I do notice the difference, like between an upscaled 4K or 1440p or dynamic 4K versus just a locked 1080p. And I was like looking at it, and I'm like, I really am not looking the way this game looks at 1080p. Like, I really wish I could get a higher resolution, but I love the 60 FPS. And this was the first game I played on my PS5 where I genuinely had to decide, like, I'm either going to take the resolution drop or I'm going to take the frame rate drop. And yeah, apparently it's not a full locked 60 FPS. So I decided, look, I'm going to try really, really hard to play this game at a locked 30 frames. And then when I first did it, I was like, my eyes, like my eyes, I can't, like, everything looks choppy. It looked so choppy. And I noticed that that's what happened to me every time. I'm going to continue this conversation. I don't want to miss this super chat. Church Key, you're saying unpopular opinion, but I was looking forward to NFTs, but not to profiteer, but to be able to make my DLCs with me into the next game. Well, see, that's the thing, is like, I don't want to be one of those people. I'm going to get back to the whole 30 frames and 60 frames. I really have something I have to say about that, but just to acknowledge the super chat, I don't want to be the person that just jumps on anything that people are saying it's bad, it's stupid, and just join the noise and be like, yeah, it's bad and stupid. I want to know why. You know, you're saying 30 FPS is not choppy. Do you think movies look choppy at 24 frames? No. I'm saying it looks choppy when I go from 60 to 30. My eyes register the choppiness at that point. And that's why I'm saying, like, your eyes have to adjust to it. And no, movies don't look like that. But if you were to watch a movie at 60 frames and then it just drops to 30 suddenly halfway through, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. And also, yeah, movies do have a lot of motion blur to make up for that. But Church Key, you know, NFTs are something that, again, like, I know you're saying it's an unpopular opinion. I'm not saying your opinion's wrong or anything. You're entitled to your opinion, you know, and you have what seems to be a valid reason for wanting to care about them. And I'm not going to take that away from you or say you're wrong. No, like, I can only speak for myself. And I have not discovered anything about an NFT that makes me feel like they're worth it or that there's something I should view as a good thing or care about. So thank you for the super chat though, Church Key. But I want to get back to my frame rate talk here, because you're saying a movie at 60 would look terrible. You lose that cinematic feel. So, okay. When I first started playing Guardians of the Galaxy after switching it to 30, I was like, okay, I'm just going to play it. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to have to see if my eyes can adjust. And I've discovered that when I spend enough time playing a game at 30 frames per second, legitimately, my eyes do adjust to where I don't see that choppiness anymore. I know it's not 60 and it doesn't look as smooth as 60. But suddenly, my eyes just adjust and I don't see that choppiness. And it's the craziest thing. Like, I always thought when I was playing games on the PS4 Pro, people would always say, dude, how can you, like, you know, mainly PC players will be like, oh my God, 30 FPS, blah, you know, like, I can't. And I was always just like, I don't get it. Like, it looks fine. Like, yeah, it's not 60, but it looks fine. Like, if 30 isn't that bad. And people would go berserk on me, be like, what are you, crazy? 30 looks terrible. And I'm like, okay, but I now understand where they were coming from and why they were saying that. Because when you can just switch it on and off, like right in front of you as you're playing, your eyes will detect it, like, for sure. But if you don't have that option to just flick it on and off like a switch and you're just stuck at 30, you don't see it like the same way. And so now I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy at 30 frames per second, and I've gotten used to it. It's like, I'm okay with it. I'm like, okay, I can do this now. But I'm making sure not to switch to that 60 frames, because when I switch to it, it's over from there. Like, I feel like it's like, okay, it's going to be rough going back. So I'm almost tempted, guys. I'm almost tempted to see if I can play Horizon Forbidden West they're gonna have a performance mode and a native mode, a fidelity mode for Horizon. And Horizon, I'm almost tempted, like, man, if I could get the absolute best visuals with that game, you know, and get used to adjust to playing it at 30, I might try to do that. I know that there are gonna be people like, oh, it shouldn't be like that for next gen games, but guys, come on, like, the PS5 has its limits. We know this. The PS4 Pro will be the machine where you can have the best of all worlds, you know? You're saying I'm rambling? I don't know. Dude, this is what I do. I ramble. I'm talking about something that I think is interesting to me. You're saying Ratchet felt smooth to you at 30. Yeah, Ratchet is that's a game where I tried really hard I tried really hard to play it at 30 to get the best visuals. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. But this, I feel like, I don't know. Maybe I just didn't give my eyes enough time to adjust. But I don't know. I think it might depend on the game as well. Like games that are really fast paced, like Guardians of the Galaxy isn't that fast paced. It's not. It is a slower game. You move around a lot during combat, but you're not like, you know, like to me, it just feels like a slower, heavier game. And I feel like maybe that helps it. But then again, Ratchet wasn't that fast paced either. So, Kyrie Williams, you're saying, why talk about Xbox at all? Just focus on PlayStation only. Honestly, that's how I feel. That is how I feel. You know, the only I want to say this. The only times I want to talk about Xbox going forward is if there's something actually relevant to the PlayStation side of things. Like for example, when Xbox had E3, like that's relevant just for the sake of what are they announcing? When Xbox announced that they bought Bethesda, that's absolutely relevant to PlayStation, you know? But I think, you know, with Halo Infinite coming, I spent too much time talking about Halo Infinite. I spent 0 time playing Halo Infinite, yet I talked about it way more than I ever should have. And that I'm done doing that. I'm only going to talk about things that I play, that I care about, and I'll form my own opinions on things that I haven't played yet. You know, for example, like people want to know my opinion on Starfield. I think that's totally fair for me to give an opinion on Starfield because nobody knows what Starfield is. Nobody's played Starfield. But I want to give you that opinion with you knowing I'm probably not going to play Starfield. You know? So hopefully that makes sense. But I agree with you, Kyrie. I do. I should only start talking, in my opinion, about Xbox more frequently if I start playing Xbox. You know? I know that my channel here, our community here, has garnered a bit of a reputation that I know you guys are aware of, where a lot of outsiders view us as just toxic PlayStation fanboys. And that's not your fault. And by you, I'm talking to true supporters of the channel and who enjoy the content and genuine PlayStation fans. You know, it's partly my fault because I have I've entertained too many things that make it easy to paint that picture of us, you know? And I don't want that to be our community. That's not us. You know, I like to think we're a lot better than that. I like to think that we are like genuinely people who just love gaming and want to talk about, specifically in this case, PlayStation and PlayStation's games. So you're saying I'm not toxic, but my podcast is. I mean, Thomas, I'd be open to, you know, hearing some feedback for sure. Oh, you know what? I'm going to get to your super chat, Church Key. I want to say, I totally forgot to mention this at the beginning of my podcast. Maybe it's better I'm waiting till now because I actually have more viewers now than I did at the very beginning. By the way, hit that like button, guys. Can we get to 500 likes? I think we can do it. This was something incredibly important that I meant to talk about at the beginning. I'm going to talk about it now because I saw a comment that got some upvotes on my last podcast. And this is where it's like people say, don't ever read comments. I believe comments and I believe feedback is important. Good feedback, constructive feedback. Okay. And I saw a comment from somebody who, do you hit like or click on it? Well, you either tap it if you're on your phone or you click it with your mouse if you're on PC. You technically don't ever hit it. You know, you don't ever actually smash it, contrary to how everybody else talks about it. But what I meant to talk about is there was seemingly some unrest during last week's episode of the podcast because people were saying that like there's just too much toxicity allowed in the chat. It wasn't necessarily directed towards anybody, and I'm not directing this towards like, oh, Xbox fans or PlayStation fans, but just in general, people being toxic in the chat. And look, I'm not saying that you can't express yourself in my chat on my streams. You absolutely can. And if you have a differing opinion, if you have an opposite opinion, these are all absolutely welcome. I like that. I like to hear what other people have to say, especially when it is in disagreement or, you know, people just giving their own thoughts. But I really want to make it clear that going into 2022, that at this point going forward, like not just me, like this is a community driven thing. Like this is all of you, this is me, it's all of us together. We are going to start implementing a zero tolerance policy for anything that is clearly just hurtful, completely disrespectful, vile, like just obviously toxic. We're just done. And I want my mods to listen closely to this as well. Because if you see something that you like, just common sense, like this is just somebody trolling, this is just somebody being a dick, this is just somebody trying to cause chaos and ruin people's time and cause a bad time, just get rid of them. You don't have to even, you're saying MVG censoring for the softies. No, that's not what this is, bro. Trust me, that is not what this is. This is just straight up like, I don't want that bullshit here. It's not a matter of preserving people's feelings. I'm sure most of us here are adults. I'm sure people can get over it. I don't want to see it anymore. That's not what this channel is. That's not what this channel is going to be going forward. And I don't want people to come here thinking that that's what it is, that this is where, like, dude, I've said it. This is where it's like, look, talk is cheap. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be the person that just keeps talking and be like, oh, we're not toxic and nothing. No. I know the reputation that my channel has to a certain extent and that my community has. And I'm not happy with it. I'm not satisfied with it because I know that's not what this is about. I know that that's not why we're here. And I know that I myself, we partake in that bullshit sometimes. But it's gotten to a point where, people are at a point where they want to use that as ammunition to try to whittle down my community here and our community and whittle down what we enjoy here. And I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to give them that satisfaction. So, I hope that you guys understand where I'm coming from. And I all my moderators who are here, I do have an expectation of you. I mean, there's a reason why I made you mods, and I know you want to help the channel out. You don't have to, there will be times where maybe sometimes people accidentally get banned when they shouldn't have, and we'll deal with that when it happens. But just use your common sense and listen to what I'm saying. If you see something that you just, and you can feel like this is some bullshit, that somebody's trying to pull, just get them out, and look, I know that people are going to come in the chat and they're going to use the terms ponies and X-bots. I get it. Like, I'm not going to be so extreme, like, don't say X-bot or pony or you're banned. Like, it is what it is, but my hope is that if somebody's using those terms, but they're also just being completely shitty people, just get them out. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need that. So. And that's the thing is, like, I see the chat. I'm not blaming anybody. Okay. Like, it is me. It's my fault. Like, I am the owner of this channel. I'm the one that ultimately sets the tone for everything that happens on the channel. I can't control everybody. There are going to be people that I can't control that do things that are just not right. But I really wanted to make that clear because going into next year, things are going to be different. And that's just how it's going to be. And I want everybody to understand it's going to be a good thing. Like, it's good. If you like PlayStation and if you like PlayStation games, if you're somebody who, likes PS5, if you bought a PS5 or if you want a PS5, dude, this is going to be a good thing. This is going to be a good thing. All right. So you're saying, MBG, you have a lot of toxic PlayStation fanboys here. First, clear them. Well, that's the thing. Mods. We're going to draw the line here, guys. We're going to draw the line here. If you are what would be deemed a toxic PlayStation fan and you're listening to this and you like my channel and you like my content, okay? This is a New Year's resolution podcast, yeah. Please listen to me. I'm going to encourage you. Just stop. Don't be toxic. You can have your opinions and you can be very opinionated. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, okay? My mods will get rid of you. Okay. We already know that there's an influx of toxic Xbox fans that come to this channel. But I know that there are toxic PlayStation fans, and that's the shit I'm trying to cut out. Okay, I'm trying to just cut out the toxicity. I don't give a shit whether it's toxic PlayStation, Nintendo, PC, toxic anything. I want it out. All right, no room for toxicity. There's plenty of room for intellectual conversation, for disagreements, for even healthy arguments. Healthy arguments, you know? But the second that shit becomes toxic, mods, I want it out, you know? And if I see it myself, it's going to go. So, you're saying if your chat has a bad culture, then that's on you. It's your channel. Dude, I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. I literally said it's my fault. It's my fault. I'm not blaming anybody. But I'm telling you now that I'm changing. I'm changing my channel, and I need people to change with me. Okay? That's all. Come on, MBG, leave us some way to defend PlayStation. Well, dude, that's the thing is if you can still make great arguments. You can still have great comebacks and great conversation without it being toxic. That's the point. You know? And you're saying our clown jokes a lot? Yeah, dude, see, that's what I'm saying. It's not... This will be a learning process. We'll see over time. All right? We'll see over time. I'm just saying if it's toxic, if it's hurtful, if it's vile, if there's nothing good that can be derived from it, then it just shouldn't happen, you know? And yes, I do think that somebody having a very heavy-handed opinion, having a heavy-handed opinion and being passionate about your opinion, that is important. There's something that can be taken from that. All right? But I see it. Guys, trust me. Like, I see it. I see it on my videos. I see it in my chats. I see just the dumb shit that people say, and I say dumb shit myself, and this is just going into 2022. We're not going to be sorry, right? We're not going to be sorry, guys. We're going to be better. How's that sound? We'll end it right there. We're not going to be sorry. We're going to be better. That'll be the motto going forward. And I think that that's a sentiment that, and a saying that everybody here can rally around, right? So just had to say that. Church Key, you're saying, I still have Twitch drops guns and other DLC stuck in Wildlands that I would love to bring into Breakpoint. If they were NFTs, then I could export them. Okay, well, I hear you, Church Key. I hear the case you're trying to make. And again, I don't believe in like the witch hunt type of thing where it's like, oh, you like NFTs? Get out. You're a horrible person. Like, no. You know, I think you're doing a good job in trying to express why you do care about them. And I think it's valid. You know, I think it's totally valid. I don't necessarily think I'm on, again, doesn't mean I'm on board with them, but I understand what you're getting at. So I appreciate you letting me know. Magnum Visuals, you're saying, does Death Stranding Director's Cut have a lot of cursing? I'm about to embark on this journey for the first time with my 4-year-old. He's been playing with me. I want to say no. I don't recall there being much swearing at all. I think there's some. But I think it's far and few in between. I could be misremembering, though. You know, I could be misremembering. Hopefully the chat can help you out on that. But I'm pretty sure there's very, very little swearing. I think there's some, but it's far and few in between, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think you should be good. You're saying it does, MBG? I forget if I think there's like an F-bomb dropped at least once, right? So, Magnum Visuals, again, you're saying, don't change for one guy complaining, MBG. People will be toxic no matter the channel. No, I know, man. I'm not changing because of one person. I'm changing because there are things I want to change for me and for our community, not because of what anybody else thinks. It's what I think. It's how I feel. So hopefully you understand that. And I understand that I can't control all the toxicity. The toxicity will exist. But we have the power here with this community, and especially me, you know, being the owner of this channel, we have the power to mitigate how much toxicity there has to be and how much we have to put up with and how much we're willing to tolerate. All right. So I hope people can get on board with this. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make it sound like suddenly when January 1st rolls around, my content's just going to be way different and the podcast is just going to be like completely different. I'm not saying that. But there will be a change in tone. There will be a change in attitude. And Black Waifus, you're saying sometimes these, not even going to say it, need to hear the toxicity. Well, Black Waifus, I mean, look, again, this is what I want to encourage. This is coming from a place of experience, and even just as recently as yesterday, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because people like we established, people are going to do toxic things. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to say dumb things or bad things, and people are going to do dumb things and bad things. I do it sometimes. I'm sure many of you do it. And the only thing, like the people who stop and take a moment to say, dude, I don't think what you're saying or what you're doing is right, and here's why. And here's why I think you should change it or do it differently. Versus the person who says, wow, you're a complete piece of shit, and you're a this, you're a that, and you're a failure, and you're horrible. And it's like, that's the difference maker, man. Like, they're both essentially trying to convey the same thing, but it's just one is doing it in a constructive way that can actually do something and help somebody, and the other's doing it in a way where they just want to destroy someone. And I'm not saying, look, there are people who are just genuinely bad apples, man, where it's like, yeah, there's nothing you could say to them in any good way that will change them. And in my opinion, that's why you just walk away at that point. You just leave it be, because it's not going to change, you know? The fact that this channel is the battleground for Xbox versus PlayStation. No, I get it, man. I get it. Look, I'm not. I know that there are a lot of people on my channel who are very passionate about PlayStation. It's no different if you go to an Xbox centric channel, man. Like it's the same thing, just flipped. There's a lot of passionate Xbox fans who can very easily become toxic. The same thing can be said for PC-oriented channels. Anything, any fan bases, it can become toxic easily. And I'm not saying be less passionate about PlayStation, care less about PlayStation and their games. No, it's just there's a better way to express it. And that's what I've learned. And so I'm just hoping that people can, see somebody saying they're worse than us. Yeah, but who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares about that? Who cares about that argument? Who cares about, oh man, they're worse and we're better? No, let's be the best we can be, right? I know that sounds super cliche, but let's keep the focus on ourselves and how we can do better. That's all. Edward Jordan, thank you so much for becoming a member, buddy. Welcome to the Greatness Awaits tier. Thank you for that support. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I know we got way off topic there, but that was something I wanted to talk about and be sure, because just the comment that I got, by the way, was from a viewer of the channel who was basically just saying, like, look, man, like, I love the podcasts and I love the content, but the toxicity level of the chat in particular gets excessive and it's tough, and people just don't want to see, like, and I realized that I've been too lenient, because I was literally allowing certain Xbox trolls, like people who are coming here to just troll, and they make it known, but because they're not being like completely, terrible about it, I was like, oh, it's all fun, and like, no, like, that's not going to help. That's not going to help anything. That's all. It's either going to hurt or it's going to help. Nintendo Power, you're saying, what's considered toxic? Some mods here are itching to ban people for every little insult versus morons in chat characterizing you for your console of choice. Well, I guess it is important to kind of define what is toxic. So I'll do my best. I'll probably have to put more thought into it. Like, I don't know if I can just give a great, rule set to follow. And maybe I should try to be more clear with my mods, but I think that toxicity should kind of, like, if you, I guess I'll try to give some examples. If somebody says, oh, MBG is a fanboy in the chat, or wow, MBG is a pony and he's just defending PlayStation, no matter what, I don't think that's toxic. I think it's an obviously negative opinion, and it's one that I don't agree with. But I don't think that's toxic. You know what I mean? Just like if somebody in chat were to say like, "Oh, dude, hey, you seem like an ex-bot who, will defend there's nuance to it. There's nuance to it, because I see comments from people who are genuinely like, okay, there's a little bit of back and forth. Like, I got a really passionate Xbox fan, got a really passionate PlayStation fan, and they're kind of like trading arguments about, well, Xbox has these games and I think they look good and better. But it's when it gets insulting, like when it's like you're no longer trying to make a case for why you are so passionate about the thing you like, or why you care so much about it, or why you're even defending it. Now you're just being insulting, and I see it all the time, and I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of seeing it in my comments. I'm tired of seeing it in the chat where it's like, can you call someone a moron? Like, I'm going to say no. Like, is that really needed? Like, do you think calling somebody a moron is suddenly going to make them be like, you know what? You're right. I am a moron. I should stop. Like, when has that ever worked? I'm serious. When has calling somebody a moron ever made them be less of a moron? If anything, it gets them upset. It gets them angry. Then their IQ drops. It's like it's I've had people tell me I'm a moron without blatantly calling me a moron. And I come to the conclusion, you know what? That is a pretty stupid thing to say, or I am being stupid. See, that's the nuance. That I hope you guys can achieve this. We can achieve it together. Can you call them a clown? Yeah, I think that's fine. I think calling somebody a clown, that's not. Come on, is that really hurtful? I think that's fine. Like, I don't think that's one of those things where it's like, maybe some people are sensitive to it, and some people will be like, "Wow, you called me a clown. That actually really upset me." But I just think you're saying, how is a clown okay, not a moron? Well, I don't know. I maybe you're right. I don't know. Like, are they the same? See, this is where it's nuanced. Like, I guess the reason to me clown seems okay is because I don't see clown as an insult. I see it as like, you just basically, it depends on how you perceive it. Context, exactly. Context matters. So if I say to somebody, wow, dude, you are an absolute clown, like, what a joke, I could see how that's kind of like, okay, like somebody could probably be a little bit upset at that. Like, what the, no, like, I'm not a clown. Like, it's not a joke. But that versus be like, dude, you're a straight up moron. Like, you know what I mean? MVG gets slung so much hate, insults feel mild to him now. Yeah, dude, that's a real possibility. Maybe I'll have to put out a poll. Maybe that would be an interesting poll. Is calling somebody a clown, is that toxic? Like, is that considered toxic? Like, we know it's meant to be offensive in the sense of like, oh, you're a clown, bro. But I don't know. I guess I've embraced the clown too much. Maybe I've embraced the clown too much. Maybe it's because I've been called a clown so many times. I've literally worn a clown wig and I'm like, it just doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt no more. It's very dismissive. I agree. I think that's the best way to put it. I think that's the nuance right there. It is dismissive. It's, it can be insulting to be dismissive for sure, but I don't know that it's necessarily toxic. You know what I mean? But it's like calling somebody, it's calling somebody a jerk. I don't know. You're saying if it's repeated too often by the same person, perhaps it depends. It's context dependent. That is true. See, I find this conversation fascinating because it does kind of dive into something that's so prominent and prevalent everywhere, and it feels almost impossible. I mean, I certainly can't just decide myself, oh, hey, this is good and this is bad. I am only one person, but I'm hoping that if we work together, we can find a good middle ground where it's like, okay, what do we truly deem as like, this is not good. This is just, stoking the fire and whatnot versus this is okay and it's not a big deal. That's my goal. But I guess it is up to me to determine that since it is, technically my channel here. Nintendo Power, you're saying, Darkborn, you're saying, in the words of PlayStation, let the games do the talking. PlayStation will continue to win awards and make great games. Who cares if Xbots are salty? Darkborn, bro, I don't think you're helping the case here, man. You know, like, I think it's, here's one. Can we, instead of calling people Xbots, can we just call them Xbox fanboys? I feel like that has to be less offensive than Xbot, right? It's like, I would prefer somebody to call me a PlayStation fanboy than a pony. Although I'm not bothered if I'm called a pony, you know? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe Xbot is better. I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue. Yeah, I guess. I guess calling somebody a pony is easier than calling them a PlayStation or Sony fanboy. No, MVG, we can't censor Xbot. X-flops. No. X-flops. But yeah, no, I do agree, man. It is, you got to let the games do the talking, you know, more than anything. Zanarcan Blitzer, you're saying last call for 2021. Be sure to check out Final Fantasy VII Remake. In case you don't know, there's a demo on PlayStation Store for more than a year. It's the first chapter. I mean, they're giving out the free upgrade. I'll get around to it, man. I will at some point. Let me see. Nintendo Power is saying, so give reasoning for an argumentative, oh geez, I can't say the word. Argumentative descriptor. I don't know, man. I'm going to be real right now. Like, I've gotten so deep into this that I feel like my brain's fried and I can't really delegate things properly because I'm just so out. So, look, I can only speak generally right now, unfortunately. I mean, I feel like I did it as good of a job as I could almost 3 hours into this podcast, but I don't want to be I don't want to over censor my chat. Okay. I don't want people to feel like they don't have the freedom to say what they want. I feel like most people should understand the difference between being an asshole and not. Like, I feel like that's not expecting much from people. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can use the word clown in a sentence without being a complete asshole about it, right? Like, I just feel like it's not that hard. Like, oh man, I feel like that's a, you know, that's a pretty clown thing to say, you know, or that's just, hey, you know, clown emoji response. It is dismissive, but I feel like, come on, like that. It's like me saying what I said in that tweet. Like, people were genuinely acting like I offended them. Like, I said something that genuinely is offensive. Like, no, I fucking didn't. Like, I made a joke about opening getting a console over another. Like, that shouldn't hurt your feelings. It's because it's not. That's not offensive. You know? Like, the only reason anybody would get offended by that is because it would simply just be because of how attached you are to something. And just for some reason, me making a joke out of it hurt you. And I get that. But that's life, man. You know? Like, if somebody doesn't take what you take seriously, doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they don't take it as seriously as you. You know? So I don't know. Clown is a PG insult. There you go. That's a great way to put it. It's PG, man. Like, I just don't want people coming in here and basically being like, F you, dude. Like, you're a moron. You're, you know, and that's the thing is I noticed that, like, there were people who straight up were like saying to me, like, bro, like, this doesn't seem like a great thing to say on Christmas. And I'm like, you know, yeah, that makes sense. Or like, maybe this is kind of a dumb thing to say on Christmas Day. Like, it's a little bit insensitive. It's like, okay, dude, that's totally fair. But then I get people coming at me where they're like, I can't even say the words, but I mean, using some nasty words, bro, to be like, yo, you are this and you are that. And I'm just like, how did this tweet hurt you that much, man? You know? And that's where I just kind of, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like that wasn't like really that much of an asshole thing to tweet. Like I'm just saying people were responding to me as if I woke up on Christmas morning and tweeted out, yo, if you got an Xbox this morning, you suck and your family sucks and everything about Xbox sucks and Xbox just sucks. Dude, the responses I was getting from people, you would have thought that that's what I tweeted, man. And that's where I'm saying it's like, there has to be some nuance here, bro. You're saying it comes with the territory, MBG. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Nintendo Power, you're saying, I see where you're coming from. Just afraid of mods being way more peculiar about your rules than you will, but you should definitely curb harassment. Yeah, so that's the thing. I do also want to say to my mods, just so we're on the same page here, you know, just try to use your best judgment, okay? If you read a message from somebody and it just seems like, you know, does this seem like it's just being a total dickhead to somebody to the point where it's like you could genuinely like make somebody feel bad for what they just said, you know, with those words and actually like really hurt somebody with those words. Get that? Like, I don't think that's right, you know? But if somebody's just like, oh, you know, it's just a little playful, it's like a PG, like, you know, clown emoji, whatever. Like, come on, like, you can't let a clown emoji make you feel like your whole world's shook. Because at that point, come on. I mean, we gotta at least acknowledge like this is the real world. You know, we can't be walking around here like we're glass getting ready to shatter over every little thing. You know, come on. I know everybody has different levels of sensitivity, but I think we can all agree that there are just some things where it's like you learn over time that you're going to have to at least develop a little bit of thick skin, just a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to tolerate anything. You don't have to tolerate anything, but you got to know that it does exist and it will happen to a certain extent. But there are lines we don't cross. Again, nuance is the word. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Nintendo Power, and I don't want, you know, you're saying a ban is pretty serious. Yeah, so like I don't mind timing people out. Like giving people a warning, that's why it's there. Let people know, hey, like you seem like you're coming off pretty rude, you know, you're upsetting people. Then just, you know, erase the message, you know, give them a temporary ban, just say, look, just don't do it again. Just chill, you know? And then if they keep doing that, you know. You're saying, wow, I just read your tweet and what a hype that unleashed. Yeah, dude, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not trying to justify the tweet because it doesn't matter. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. People either love that tweet, they either hate it. I just genuinely feel like, wow, I didn't think it would go in either direction so extremely. And if I'd known, I would have just walked away from it. But I really felt like I learned something about myself, as I said, and how I interact with the things around me. And yeah, so that's what it is. Magna Visuals, you're saying EA is starting to inject that Fortnite clownery into Battlefield 2042. Dude, I saw that. I saw that people were like upset that they were gonna have like Christmas themed cosmetics because they're like, yo, this is Battlefield. We don't do that here. And then they're like, oh, we're not going to do that. And then they did it anyway. I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of what I got from, like, I just saw that, oh, it turns out EA is putting some, or DICE is putting some Christmas themed outfits. Yeah, I don't mind it, really. I could understand why Battlefield, you know, I was sorry, I got really distracted there. I could understand why like Battlefield is one of those franchises where, you know, come on, like it's Battlefield. It's supposed to be a little bit more grounded in reality, and cosmetics are fine, but I understand like when people buy like a shooter and they're expecting like a somewhat realistic, as realistic as it can be, you know, somewhat realistic shooter, something that's more grounded in reality, and then you see like just some of these ridiculous like outfits. Like a good example is a game that I still play as well, but I just don't play it as much anymore. But PUBG console version is terrible. I know that. Like I can't believe they still haven't made a PS5 version. Game's old now though. It's a lot of people say it's a dead game. I guess it kind of is, but the most ridiculous thing about PUBG to me is like this is a game that has like some of the most grounded like you know, it's got this real rugged tone to it, you know, like dark colors and whatnot in a good way where it's like, this is, you know, it's kind of serious, I guess. Like they're going for that serious tone. And then when anytime I go on that game, they literally have some of the most ridiculous cosmetics that I'm just like, what is this? Like this is this seems like a joke. Like you want me to, you know what I mean? And it just like I'm playing PUBG and it's like this serious like militaristic like shooter tactical, and then I see somebody in a freaking polar bear outfit with like streamers and stuff, and I'm like, okay, don't get me wrong, I don't mind because they make themselves really easy targets. It's really easy to find somebody like that and just take them out quickly. So I'm appreciative of it, but at the same time, I'm like, what's going on here? See somebody saying, "What's your game of the year?" Returnal is my game of the year. Yeah, I understand why a lot of people would question that and be like, "Oh, you're just saying that." No, I'm not. I put over 100 hours into Returnal, and I like video games for all different reasons. Like I like story-based games. I like games with a good story. I like games that have interesting characters, interesting environments, and I feel like Returnal was not as strong in the story area. Like there was a story there, but it wasn't in your face. You had to kind of figure it out. Did I platinum Returnal? I did, and it took a long time. It was difficult, but that's the thing is like to put 100 hours into Returnal, knowing that my first playthrough of that game, it took me about 35 hours to beat, and a massive chunk of those hours were me being stuck on the 3rd biome, and I think the 5th biome. A huge chunk of those hours. But when I finally beat it, I was like, man, that was awesome. Any tips? Dude, the only tips I can give you is you just got it. There is a threshold with Returnal from my experience where you will get, like, there's going to be just a large chunk of time where you have to accept you're going to get your ass handed to you. You're going to suck for a long time. But for me, it was like a switch just flipped. And at some point, I just got it. Like, I just got it. Things made more sense. I understood like what I was supposed to do, It was like a Matrix moment, like I'm the one, And yeah, it was kind of like that actually. It's very much like Dark Souls in that sense where it just has to click at some point. And once I got past that, oh man, like the game, it turned almost into a different game. And suddenly it's like I went from just being the one that sucked and kept getting stomped to where it's like now I'm doing the stomping, and it really does have that very much like you gotta respect the difficulty, and if you do and you keep persisting, you will get. I can't promise everybody will get through it, but I really genuinely thought I wasn't going to at one point. And dude, the platinum drove me nuts. Anybody who got the platinum of Returnal, you know what I'm talking about. Like, God, don't ever attach a platinum to something that's RNG, for Christ's sake. That was the one thing I did not like about it, but it only felt right to platinum a game like that because I'm like, I have to. I have to get the platinum for this. But yeah, that's my game of the year. Yeah, the platinum was a nightmare. I literally like got upset multiple times trying to get that platinum to where I'm like, I'm done. I'm not playing this game anymore. And then I'd give it like a day or two and I go back and be like, all right, maybe this time I'll get it. Maybe this time I'll get lucky. So the last couple of ciphers are tough to find. Yes. Oh, dude, that's putting it lightly. Absolutely putting it lightly. KD, you're saying Returnal had a crazy plot twist after Biome 3. Yeah, it did. Yeah, so again, it didn't have the strongest story. Like, you did have to do, like, but it was thought-provoking. Like, by the end of the story, I was, like, kind of thinking, like, And I really do think that Housemarque, when you look at Housemarque's history with their games, I think that Returnal was just such a huge, massive leap. Like, I mean, they didn't just go, like, from this step to this step. I mean, they went from here to, like, they went past a couple steps, man. Like, they really, I think they did great, and it's my personal game of the year. I was a little bit surprised, for sure. I made a video on it when I saw that they weren't in the running for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. But then I realized I don't care about the Game Awards. And I see somebody asking me quite frequently in the chat why I don't ever get up to use the restroom when I'm podcasting. It's because I go before I podcast. That doesn't mean I'll never have to. It just means that I make sure to do so before I'm going live because I know that I'm going to be here for a couple of hours. I just feel like I have to say that because that person really needs to know. Like why I never. And I actually saw somebody saying it's because I have a catheter. Like, no, guys, come on. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. You're saying what the F? No podcasters do that. That's what I was like, dude. To be fair though, my podcast can go on for like 3 or 4 hours at a time sometimes. So I can understand like how somebody would be like, man, somebody's saying I'm just peeing right here on the spot. Yeah, guys, you should see what it looks like underneath. I know you can only see from like my chest. You can't see anything below that. That's funny, dude. That's funny. But no, I've never gotten to that point, so I have a peek up, yeah. Did you ever see that one South Park episode? It's kind of like that. You're probably in pajama pants. You're right. You're actually right. I'm literally sitting here in my Christmas pajama pants. How'd you know? How'd you know? That's true though. That is absolutely true. I'm not kidding about that. I'm wearing my Christmas pajamas. That's right. I wear Christmas pajamas every year. I feel like it's a tradition I have with my family, you know? An MBG branded diaper. Dude, if I was wearing an MBG branded diaper, I'd be trying to sell that. No. I'd have to sell that. I have to imagine quite a few people right now, actually, who are listening to this are actually sitting in Christmas-themed pajamas listening to this. That seems like a common thing. Okay, somebody's super chat from Lewis Jargo. You're saying top 5 games of 2021. So you know what? I want to actually take a look back live, and I guess this will be the last thing I do. Plot twist, MBG is streaming from his restroom sitting in the corner. You know what's funny about that is looking at the walls and how you can only see the corner of the room. That's actually pretty funny. Somebody could actually maybe think, is he? Am I? Am I though? You'll never know. You'll never know. Hold on, I need to go to my games. Give me a second so I can check all my games. I want to look at all the games I played this year. I definitely didn't play nearly as many games as I wanted to this year. So, okay, my top games of the year. So, the one I'm playing now that's most recent and that's at the forefront of my mind is Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't beaten it yet, but I can for sure confirm that it's one of the best games I played all year, and I'll probably even think even more of it when I actually complete it. By the way, has anybody here platinum Guardians of the Galaxy? Does anybody know? Is that a difficult platinum or not? I don't know. So let me know. I'm interested. Because if it's like a really tough platinum, I might not. You're saying show the PJs? Nah. I'm actually just sitting in my underwear, Christmas themed underwear. So can't. It's not acceptable. I'm just kidding. I'm not, but I just don't feel like getting up. It's because like my leg, honestly, like my one leg is just totally asleep right now, and I feel pins and needles, and yeah. Every time I get up from podcasting for so long. I did order a new office chair. I refuse to buy a gaming chair. I just want to say, before I finish this, I will never buy a gaming chair. I just, no, I'm not buying a gaming chair. I don't believe in them. I feel like they're a scam. I feel like there's actually nothing special or interesting about gaming chairs. They just want me to believe. I know that there are some really high quality gaming chairs, like somebody mentioned Secret Labs. And I don't doubt that they're great chairs, but I just can't do it. I'm like, I want an office chair. Okay? I got a black office chair, nothing crazy, nothing too fancy. But if you guys can probably sometimes see the chair that I'm sitting in. This is literally a chair. I'm not kidding. This is a chair that you would buy for like a doctor's office waiting room. That's the type of chair I'm sitting in right now. So don't get me wrong. I absolutely need an upgrade. I need something that's more ergonomic because this just ain't cutting it anymore. I've been using this for like 4 years. I don't recommend it. But Herman Miller X Logitech, dude, just buy a regular. Dude, first of all, I could never spend that kind of money on a chair. I would love to, maybe one day, but I just can't. They're like $1,000. But I finally upgraded to like a decently ergonomic office chair, and I was looking at all these gaming chairs, and I just kept getting like, I just can't do it. I just feel like they're scams. Look, I'm not trying to judge anybody. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a gaming chair, but for me, I just feel like why does your logo have to be plastered all over it? You know, like I feel like that's true. That, you know what I mean? It just, I don't know. Doesn't feel right to me. PlayStation announces they're selling gaming chairs. I'm getting that. I need that gaming chair. that's I laugh, but that's actually probably what it would be like. Gaming chairs increase FPS. I mean, dude, if that was true, I'd be all over them. But some people buy it because of the logo. Yeah, that's what I mean, you know. And I noticed that like some of these gamer chairs, they all look the same. And yet some of them are like $400. And then there's another one that looks identical that's like $100. Now I get that it's probably the materials. It's probably the materials that are being used and they're different quality, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. So anyway, I played Guardians of the Galaxy. I played Back 4 Blood. Didn't enjoy that game. I kind of regret that game. It was okay. Back 4 Blood was okay. Not one of my top 5. I played Abandoned. Gotta say, Abandoned has to be in my top 5 because they delivered, man. They delivered. You're saying please try PC gaming? Maybe one day. Abandoned delivered on their promise for what their game was going to be, an abandoned real-time experience. And I've never played a game that actually made me feel abandoned like that in real time. So congratulations. They made my top 5. Okay, so here's a game that I'm going to throw on my top 5 that you're not expecting. And I know it's not a new game, but Dead by Daylight. This was the first year I picked up Dead by Daylight to play it with my friends online, and I ended up platinuming it. That's how much I enjoyed it. What a great game, man. Like, it's genuinely a great game. Now, it's not perfect, but I had a great time. It was great during a time when I wasn't playing much, and I'm like, I'm looking for something to just play. Oh, sorry, Nintendo Power. You're saying, look up the Dexley chair at Staples, $160 on sale. I'll have to look into it. I'll have to see. I don't know I forget what brand of chair I got. I think it's something really unknown. I hope it's not shitty. I'll have to look into it. But it seemed really nice and it had really great reviews. It was on something on Amazon, just a black office chair. So I'm hoping it'll be good enough. But Dead by Daylight, I'll have to. I don't know if I'm going to put it in my top 5 yet, but that's one of the better gaming experiences I had this year because I really enjoyed it. Like I just didn't expect to like it that much. I put like a couple hundred hours into it. That's how much I liked it. I played Kena Bridge of Spirits. That has to go in my top 5. So right now I'm sitting at Guardians of the Galaxy, Kena. Kena was amazing. I really enjoyed that. It wasn't like mind-blowingly good, but I just knowing that was their first game and just how it like competes with so many other great games and it does a lot of things better than other games. And it's an indie. I mean, thoroughly impressed, man. So I got to get that. I got to put that on my top 5. I want to put Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, but I can't because it's not new and I did play it in 2020. But I do want to give a big shout out to the Icky Island expansion. Amazing. Absolutely amazing expansion. And I'm not kidding. Like, dude, that hit home for me. The Icky Island expansion and the story that was being told and you know, can just being fleshed out for Jin Sakai. After that DLC, I really was like, Jin Sakai is one of my favorite characters. And this dude, it was amazing. So I can't put it on my top. I put up my top 5 experiences for sure. Here's another one you guys aren't going to be expecting. I played this game with my wife and I did platinum it. Overcooked. The all-you-can-eat edition. We played through Overcooked 1 and 2. I got the platinum in it, man. And that, dude, great game. Great game. It will induce rage. Absolutely, if you play it with people. But what a great game. Can't say it's one of my top 5. Maybe it will. Maybe it will be. I got to keep going, though. So I played Outriders. Unsubscribed. Outriders was really good, actually. It wasn't great. I don't know. Was it great? I had a really good time with Outriders. I think what I liked most about Outriders is you could play it solo and it was totally fine. And I enjoyed it. I platinumed that. That might be on my top 5. I got to keep going here though, but that was one of my better experiences of the year. So there's RE Village, you know, I did enjoy that. I feel like that'll be on my top 5, but I don't know that I don't think I liked RE Village as much as everybody else. I kind of felt like, I don't know. I don't know that I really am digging the direction that Resident Evil's going in these days. Like I'm more excited for like the remakes at this point. I know that that's maybe an unpopular opinion, and it's not that I disliked it. I just didn't enjoy it that much. You know, it doesn't feel like, it feels like a different game. Like I feel like it shouldn't be called Resident Evil. Magna Visuals, you're saying, doesn't Icky Island look better than the base game? I do. I has like this tropical look to it. It reminds me of Uncharted 4 a little bit. I think it does look good. It looks brighter. But then we have Returnal, so that's on my top 5. So I think that puts the top 5 at 3. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I am good. While I did enjoy it. It's just the gameplay was pretty simple, you know, nothing overly complex. It was enjoyable and I liked it. But I have to put Ratchet and Clank in my top 5 because it really did. I know it sounds cliche, but it really did feel like that game where it's like they're trying to show me like, dude, this is what the PS5 can do. And the story was solid. You know, the story was good. The writing was pretty good. Everything about it was good. But the thing that really I have to put it on my top 5 is because it's like, dude, I bought the PS5 look like based off of the excitement, like let's see what this thing can do. And Insomniac Games is like, here you go, man. Here's your first idea of like, this is what this console can really do and what it can achieve. And so I think, you know, what is that? 4 out of 5. I think I'm trying to see what game I want to put at 5 because I don't know, man. Like, let me see. Wait, did I say Abandoned? Wait, I confused myself. So we got, let me just go over this one more time. We got Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Kena 2, Returnal 3, Ratchet and Clank 4. So I could put Abandoned for the number 5 spot. I could put Abandoned, but I mean, come on, I can't really do that. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm gonna have to put. I'm torn between Dead by Daylight, Overcooked, and Outriders. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm being honest, man. Like the Demon Souls, I played that. Well, that was my top 5 for 2020. That was my top 5 for 2020. Spider-Man Miles Morales as well. All right, I'm gonna give it to Overcooked. I'm gonna give it to Overcooked. I know people are like, what are you talking about, man? But you know what, dude? It's all about the gaming experiences we have. And this year, a highlight for me was playing Overcooked with my wife, and we had a great time. And I highly recommend that game. Apparently, and I gotta get around the finishing It Takes Two. I can't give it to that because I haven't finished that. I hope to at some point. I've heard amazing things about that. So there you go. That's my top 5. Maybe not as enthralling or as exciting or interesting as you guys were hoping, but there you go. And I think that that'll be a good. You're saying MBG seems to have a poor taste in games. Dude, I'll admit, this year I did not play nearly as many games as I wanted to. That's what I'm hoping for next year. I want to be able to try to flesh out my gaming experiences, at least on PlayStation anyway. And then maybe we'll go further after that. Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. I didn't play it, man. I know. I'm going to get crushed for not playing Final Fantasy. All right, guys. That is going to do it for this episode of the podcast, though. I'm surprised. I didn't think we were going to go over the 3-hour mark, but you're saying MBG Demon Souls. Look, Demon Souls is one of the best games I played, but that was a 2020 game, man. Devil Shooter was a 2020 game. Worst games of 2021? Oh, man, worst games. I feel like, I don't know, man. I kind of want to put Back 4 Blood and Deathloop and, I don't know what I tried playing that game Hell Let Loose, by the way. That was not fun. Skater XL, I tried playing that this year. Man, what a bad gaming experiences. For me anyway. What's so bad about Deathloop? No, I just didn't like it. Deathloop doesn't belong on the worst games list. Absolutely not. It's a good game. It's a decent game. I just didn't like it. That's all. So it's not worse though. It's certainly not worse. Deathloop is a competent game for sure. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I didn't think this podcast would go over 3 hours, but yet here we are. This is the final podcast of the year, and I thought it was a great one. And I hope that, I hope I made myself clear with everything I said, and I appreciate you guys hearing me out. I know that I go on some tangents, and this episode in particular was far from an organized episode. And, I'm looking forward to next year. I'm looking ahead. I think we have a lot of good times ahead of us. I really do. And I hope that, we can just kind of go into next year with a good mindset, a positive mindset, and with good intentions. So yeah, thank you for all the super chats, guys. By the way, certainly some generous super chats today. You guys are the backbone of the podcast. I feel like I have to say this every week because you absolutely keep this thing alive and thriving, and it couldn't do it without you. So shout out to all my members. Big shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the podcast each week. He does great work for the community, obviously, and really, he clearly cares about us enough to do that for us. So big shout out to you, Devil Shooter, and a shout out to my mods for doing a good job. I'm thankful for them as well, modding all year. And just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Just a shout out to gaming, right? Shout out to gaming in 2021. I feel like 2021 was not the strongest year. It was a great year, but not the strongest. And I think that Victorious 416 says it well when they say, here is to 2022. So there we go. All right, guys. One last time, just be sure to hit the like button on your way out. We're already at like 550 likes, which is awesome. You guys are incredible. I will hopefully be able to create content over the next week, but it's still a holiday week, and I have no idea what to expect in terms of gaming news or whatever. So we'll see what happens, but nonetheless, I'll do what I can. All right? But all right, that's episode 89 in the books. Until next time, guys, take care.